my brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells episode 153. I'm Mel. That's Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we're watching. And how's it going, Sam?
It's going better than an episode of SmackDown. So that's always a positive.
Gosh. So I am going to be really honest and just say that I have not actually watched the segment, but I've read recaps of the segment. I've listened to all of your weigh-ins on it. I've read your articles. Wow, that sounds like, I'm glad. All I can say is when I saw wrestling social media on Saturday morning, I was very glad that you are a paid member of an organization that had to sit there, because I would feel bad for someone who paid money and had to deal with that.
Yeah, if I was not paid to watch, I've been honest about this. If I was not paid to watch WWE content, then I would not. Because it's not for me anymore. I mean, there are, again, and I've talked about it, there are bright spots. There are things that I do enjoy. Like I will always enjoy Kevin Owens. Like that's like never a doubt. There's other things that I enjoy about it. So it's not all terrible. However, SmackDown is already a chore to get through as it is because it's 3 hours and they don't have enough content to fill that 3 hours. Then you add in The Rock, who has not evolved from the 90s. He still thinks it's the 90s when he comes out there and cuts promos and stuff. And he's there to put himself over, to put over the TKO board members. That like he's a corporate shill, which is like completely opposite. Like if you watch The Rock in his heyday and then to what he is now, like he's the Rock from the Rock from back in the day probably would not be able to understand what the current Rock is doing. And so it's just so I already well put. Yeah, I already dread whenever he's going to be around just because it's going to be the same shtick. It's stuff that it makes me cringe. And this is somebody I was a fan of. Like I loved The Rock back in the day, but now I groan every time I hear he's coming, and I was already annoyed going into it. Then he proved me right, which we'll get into, but it was a mess, and and he came out in the third hour. It just made an already long show even longer. And it was that, which we will get to because it has something to do with the bigger topic we're talking about today, but it was at the detriment of women. A women's match did not happen because of him. Oh. And so because of that segment,
yep, I did catch that. Actually, I did.
So there's a whole, it was a whole thing. So again, like I said, if SmackDown's already a chore, this just makes it more difficult. Raw's not always the greatest, but Raw generally has a hard out at 2.5 hours. So it's more manageable to get through. And we all have gotten to the point, I think, where we just dread SmackDown because we know. And now they've involved, again, like I mentioned last week, they brought Road Dogg in as co-creator. They brought him back. And when he was the co-writer, or he was one of the lead writers the last time, like SmackDown suffered greatly under him. And so people are already like, so is what we're seeing right now. I mean, as far as we know, he's only been back for 2 episodes. That's just when the information came out. So I'm not sure exactly how long he's been back. But if he has anything to do with these last 2 episodes, then I want no part of the Road Dogg era on SmackDown because it is unbearable to watch.
Why are we going backwards? Listen, I was a college age kid, so I did all the tropes, and it was the greatest freaking time for wrestling. It really was, and I love feeling those feels. But those days are over. It's a new time. I feel cashing in on nostalgia has jumped the shark.
Well, and I think even more so with The Rock, a lot of us know that he's pissed off Hollywood, and so that's why he came back to WWE.
Oh yeah, because
and
he
so now we know, and everybody knows, like, you're just there because everybody in Hollywood's mad at you. So, and you want
rightly so for
and Moana 2 just, I mean, came out a few months ago, and I guess that was successful. But then, like, what else are you doing? And so now it's just, I hate it.
I mean,
the final boss character was successful, but then he killed it on the Netflix premiere, and now he's trying to come back and do it again. And I hated the final boss character. He tried to put himself in the main event of WrestleMania and take Cody Rhodes' moment, and it didn't, and it backfired spectacularly, because as we talked about it then, a lot of the younger generations of fans do not know The Rock. They know Dwayne Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That's who they know him as. Cody is their guy. Cody is the guy that they watched, get him come back to. Some of them watched him the first time, and then they watched him come back to this company, or maybe this is their first exposure to him, is when he returned, and everything that was thrown at Cody, then he to finally get that moment, and then he did not win the title, and then he didn't get to finish the story. So everybody wanted him to finish the story, and The Rock comes in and was like, "Nah, I want to wrestle my cousin," and the fans were not having it. And so that already tells you that. So for some people, yes, it is successful, but for a large group of people, at least the people that I'm seeing, not just the people I interact with, but just in my timeline in general, hated that character because they don't resonate with him. They don't know anything about what he did for the business.
First of all, that's a niche, like, that's a video game reference. That's a niche thing. So for, like, I mean, this was funny because even on Jim's Observer Live, like, he was the best one to kind of break it down, because he actually explained, like, if you're not into video game culture, you wouldn't know anything about what a final boss is. I'm a gamer. I know that that's the big bad guy that you beat at the end. Well, so are you the big bad guy, or are you a face? So, like,
well, and that's the thing. In this, when he comes back, he's done this multiple times, but he even did this Friday night. He goes back and forth. Like, he was flip-flopping in the promo with Cody. He was going back and forth between babyface and a heel. Like, he told, like, he started singing because the main reason he was there to begin with was to announce that that WrestleMania next year will be in New Orleans, and they were in New Orleans Friday night. So that was the main reason he was there. Then he calls out but before he calls out Cody, he starts singing When the Saints Go Marching In. But then he yells and he tells the crowd, this is not Sing Along with the Rock, which obviously is a reference to Hill Rock. And then he's out here and he's doing some babyface shit. But then he's like, while Cody's in the ring, some fan yelled at him, and he said that he was going to slap the syphilis off their face. So, like, what the hell? Like, it just back and forth. Like, he was 2 seconds away from body shaming or slut shaming a woman. Like, that was just
so dated. He's so dated.
I can't.
I was there. I lived it. It was a wonderful time. It's fine. Like, leave it. I have a wonderful, my friend, one of our good friend Hob the Troll put me on to, and I've mentioned it here before, a channel called This Aged Great. And they do old movies, and their whole theme is the past was doing its best. And so when I see all you guys talking about that, all I can think of is their little theme song of the past was doing its best. Leave it alone.
Yeah. He just,
and that's again, it's like, we're done. Like, this door is closed. This chapter has ended. We are done here. It's 25 years into the next century from where you were popular. The people that are my age and older. They're in our late 40s and 50s. We're not your demographic, and you need to, if you're not appealing to young people, I'm saying this as a wrestling fan, you need to be appealing to young people. You need to be, because if you don't, there won't be wrestling.
And this is the same. I mean, it's part of it is the same conversation we've had in the AEW stuff.
AEW, and I was just saying we need to hold them accountable too.
And your Chris Jericho's, we complain about that with all these older wrestlers, and that's not to say that older wrestlers don't deserve respect, but this isn't a situation with an AEW where these people should not be getting title shots over when your whole story is I want to train new guys to be the new John Moxley, and I don't want to go backwards to what Adam Copeland and Chris Jericho and Jeff Jarrett did to this business. Then why are you giving Adam Copeland a title shot, if that's what your argument is. And so over here in WWE, you have them they're using Dwayne Johnson to pop a rating.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the story that they're trying to tell with Cody, which I'll get to. But then also, it seems like now looking in hindsight that they were also using him because it came out later on Friday night that Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE all filed to have the Janelle Grant case go to arbitration again. They all did this, and it all came out.
They filed their same bullshit that they filed the first time against the newly amended lawsuit.
Right. And so first, the Vince McMahon stuff came out first, and then later on that night, I saw that John Laurinaitis did the same thing, and WWE also did it. So it also feels like The Rock was also a huge distraction, so that people would not see. And it's more that. Don't look over here. Look over here.
Now,
look at this nostalgia with The Rock.
He put over TKO in the thing that he did on Friday, right?
Yes, he did.
And he I imagine he put over his tequila a million
times.
Yes,
he sure did. And then
sorry, I feel bad that I just put over his
tequila. No, and then afterwards there was a press conference with the local New Orleans media, basically to sell WrestleMania. But he came in as TKO board member Dwayne Johnson. He was talking like a board member. He was not obviously he's not going to come in character. Like, of course he's not, but he comes out, but he's answering questions about himself. Like the New Orleans media is asking him questions. And like that, one of the last questions was like something about how he had a time that he like overcame adversity or some bullshit like that. And he was just like, and then he's just rambling
off. Watch any one of his shows that are about him, dorks.
But he just rambles on and on about it. Was just it.
Is that the press conference that I read the transcript from, where he explained why him and Cody didn't have to end in a match?
Yes.
Because that's when I really took my WTF moment was when I was reading the article about how he said, because randomly that popped up, and I was like, what? So I clicked on that one, and was like, you really could have gone into politics, bro, because that's some mental gymnastics.
Yeah, Nikki and I were talking about that, listening to him the other night, and I was like, remember when they like seemed to be trying to test to see how people would respond to him if he ran for government? And I was
like a litmus test, not a freaking rollout.
His TV show felt like it. That's what his TV show was, a litmus test. We've had that conversation about.
But he failed. Like, it's the science is in, folks.
Yeah.
The media science is in. We have scientifically litmus test him. Dwayne Johnson has timed out. We're really sorry. It happens to. We were talking about this yesterday. It happens to everyone. Mm-hmm. Everybody's end comes. You can go gracefully, or you can do what some other people are doing. Okay, I'm going to admit it real quick here, just in case. But I signed back up for the Observer because Grand Hamada passed away, and I really wanted to read the bio. So I'm going to do it, and I wanted to go back and read on the articles about the venue. So all right, a couple months, I'll go caught up, listen to some Garrett. But Grand Hamada, he's like the Mexico to Japan pipeline. First of all, like he's the guy that did that. I mean, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. But I wasn't very familiar with him. But that's what I kept. I saw a lot about that. But he was notwithstanding, when he was older and he wrestled into his like 60s, he was going around putting over Sabu, putting over the next generation of like, because he came from kind of like he did a lot of the hardcore, so like UWA. He did a little bit with Onita, and he like a couple of like early what was it? It's like JPW, I think it was called, or JW. I get them all mixed up because there's a lot of acronyms, but the point is that when Baba and Inoki started founding All Japan and New Japan, well, he had a beef with Inoki, so he ended up going with the other indie promotions a lot. Or he just went straight to Mexico, but he was with people and he was putting over new people. And so when he got into his later years, he wasn't making himself just the center of attention. They were like, he was using what he had of his sway.
Right.
to do, and I mean, I feel like in Japan and I guess in Mexico, I can't speak to that as well, that these, when they're getting into their later years, should be putting over the next generation, not.
Well, and you see that happening a lot in New Japan still.
Oh, it definitely happens.
I mean,
in
it happens
Japanese
all the time.
I mean,
But
I'm back on Noah again. I've given like everything I could. Like it's everything is going okay. So I'm like doing like trials of things right now.
I understand.
It's
I get it.
because in general, I mean, there's a lot of talent in and TJPW and Noah. And I mean, again, we're spoiled. There's a glut. We know.
Yeah.
But this seems so out of touch when you look around at the whole rest of the wrestling landscape as an outsider who, again, because WWE is not for me and I am not a paid employee of anyone to cover it.
Right.
Like what you like, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
And
it's
in a lot of ways, to me, it's just sad because I wouldn't be here without WWE. WWF,
yeah.
WWE.
I mean, yeah, that's what
was wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I watched from my teenage years on. And we'll get to. Yeah, and it's frustrating to see.
But when he premiered, that's when I got involved with wrestling, was right around the time he started.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is, one of those last questions they asked him, and he was going on about how he was like thinking of going. He claimed he was like gonna go. It was like 97, and he was saying that he was gonna jump to a company in Pride in Japan. And he was like, this was March of 97 or something like that.
Oh.
And then somebody said, and he was like, but then Vince McMahon turned me heel. And I guess that's what he was wanting. But somebody on Twitter was like, Pride didn't start until October of 97.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Pride
in March, he could not have jumped to Pride because it was not a thing. Also, Pride was one of the companies that was the company that was ran by the Yakuza.
Yeah, there were a million like deathmatch and hardcore and like that. Like Pancrase that's what Suzuki was part of. War, Rings. There were all these like, and then Onita's company. Why I'm losing it? MFW, is that right? I think so. Something like that.
Is it I think it's FMW?
FMW, because I know that there's one of each, and I always flip it. So, but the point is that I mean, and that was more like because. So Giant Baba, the All Japan side, was more strong style, whereas the side of it, and that was Grand Hamada was one of the people. Again, when he had a beef with Inoki, he went to Mexico because he couldn't get booked because he was too short. He's like my size, but looked like a bodybuilder.
Right.
When he was describing him, he reminded me of how my dad looked, because my dad looked like 5'4", but built like a house.
Right.
And so it very much, and also I was learning it was great because he's part of the Black Tiger. Tiger Mask origin stories in New Japan, which of course that's some of my favorite stuff because Rocky Romero, and then I just you know me, history. But the idea is like it evolved because he was like, oh, we have beef, I'm gonna go run away to Mexico for many years and come back to Japan and bring what became, like, they call it lucha race,
right,
pro race. So now so the idea that Okada, like, we wouldn't have an Okada going on excursion or running away to Mexico at 13 years old.
Yeah.
If not for Grand Hamada, basically, is the idea here. And but that evolution of, they were complaining about this on one of the channels. I think it was the New Japan channel. It's like, I'm really sorry, but Japan has sort of become a feeder program for all of the North American wrestling promotions at this point. Because they just like, New Japan builds them, and then we steal them.
Yeah.
So but it seems very out of to kind of circle back to where we were with the promotion, which I guess we kind of like started with the end, but that's okay.
It'll get to, but I mean, it'll fit in with the conversation, the larger conversation that we're going to have about the WWE women's division, because
we're getting there, guys.
It was just another example to go with that story because it ended up causing an issue with the women. But I guess before we get into some of this other stuff, we will take a quick moment to plug our super chats.
Let's do it.
So we mentioned it, if you've listened if you've missed the last couple of episodes, we are currently accepting super chats because we have been offered a sponsorship opportunity for a event hosted by Wrestling Winedown during WrestleMania weekend. They are having a networking conference for women in the wrestling in the wrestling business. In the community, but women who work in wrestling is what I'm trying to say. It's by the event is invite only. And then they have asked sponsors who align with their vision and align with their interests to be involved. And we were lucky enough to be one of those people. And so we're going to use the super chats, any super chats that we raise between now and March 17th, we'll go to this opportunity. And with the tier that we're trying to get, and we're, as a sponsor, we will get to have logo placement on event materials and promotional assets. We'll get shout outs on social media. They're going to do a special YouTube recap that highlights the weekend. And so we get a shout out on that. And then we will also be included in their recap video that will be shared with the wrestling community. So it's a really cool opportunity for us. We've mentioned it before. We've had Lo on the show who's talked about Wrestling Winedown. Mel and I are both we're both buyers
Joe
of
Hendry
her stuff.
Yes. For Joe Hendry,
Joe
right
Hendry
there
hat.
over Washington State.
I have a customized shirt. Mel was kind enough to get me a customized pillow, and
Lo helped me design a customized pillow for not just she helped me design it. Like, it was great,
which is incredible. Yeah,
and she was so. I mean, this is real quick. She was great. Like, I would buy from Lo all the time because they were so quick on, like, this is what I can do and this is what I have, and because she's got a great brain about her. She's a lot of fun. She helped me come, like, that. It was her. Like, I was like, because I was like, can it be something like this? And so it's got, like, what I love about that piece is that, those two pieces, they're built with love. They've got both of our stamp on them, and they came from someone that's doing, and also, like, she does the shop and she does the merch, but she also does the cast, and she is doing what we're doing in her time, in her way. Like, so
she's
she's
great. And so we want to support her. Of course, we want to support another woman in wrestling. And so we got a super chat last week, and we actually had some previous super chats from a few weeks ago before we were doing this. So that's actually going to go towards this as well. So we have already $20 into our goal, which doesn't sound like much, but it's huge. And so we really appreciate that. And so our goal is to get to $100 because that's the tier we're shooting for. So if you are able and are wanting to help, that would be great. If not, that's okay too.
We totally understand.
We love you the same. But just,
and we don't usually ask, but this
Right.
is something special. And so we're trying to use the resource that we know that we can, because if we get over the first tier, we might be able to get to the second tier. And that includes more stuff. So, but it's our birthday next weekend. So,
so if you're
thinking of getting us $1,
you can do that too.
Go ahead and get us $1.
There we go.
$1 is $1. I'm not, it's just, it's right.
Yes, it is. So we will be, so that'll be ongoing again for the next few weeks. So if you would like to, that's what our deadline, I think, is March 17th. So we just wanted to throw that out there, and then now we can move on with the rest of the show.
Yes, we can, because we are doing special run-ins today. So if you're showing up here, and guys, we do see your comments. We are going to get to a bunch of them because we're going to have a discussion. But first, we're going to have a friend join us today. So as you guys know, I have a local promotion here called City Championship Wrestling. And they have been doing local shows out of the New Baltimore Trade Center in Chesterfield, which is a town over from me. And I can't get there because I can't walk or drive there yet. But no matter what, we still support them. And we haven't caught up with Mr. Bowser in a while. So we figured that we would bring him on because we had been having this discussion already and we wanted to talk to someone about this. So we'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Cat Daddy Paul Bowser himself.
Hello.
Welcome to Powerbombshells.
Hey, welcome back.
Oh, thank you for having me. Let me start out by saying I'm very sorry for flaking out last time, but I'm here this time, so.
Well, we appreciate it.
Well, we are glad you are here. So welcome. So what's been going on? What's up with the new show? What's going on with the new show? Tell me what's new with CCW right now.
Oh, there's so much going on. We're there every Thursday at the New Baltimore Trade Center there in New Baltimore, Michigan. 7 p.m. every week. Only $10, $5 if you're a kid under 12, and if you're 65 or older, it's free. So, but yeah, it's let's see. Well, I'll start with last week. So last week, what happened was, or this past Thursday, we had TFG versus the Backseat Boys, CCW tag belts versus JCW tag belts.
Oh, nice.
And then that was going very well until the spoiler ahead for this coming episode that's about to be uploaded is Dub Club ran in and ruined all of that. So we'll be having Dub Club versus TFG for the tag team championship this coming week.
Oh, that's a rematch from Richmond, actually. At least they were thinking they were in a 4-way, actually. I think it was a 4-way tag match in Richmond when you guys were here last year, which I know is coming back, but that's like a spoiler too.
Yeah, we're coming back in April.
And Sam, if you don't remember Dub Club, they're my guys. They are.
Yes, I do remember. Oh, I remember.
Although I got a big shout out to those effing guys because they have they're a lot of fun. So,
go ahead.
You go. No, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say
you're the guest here.
Well, thank you. This Thursday we got another WWE ID showcase match. We had our first one in the end of January with Freedom Ramsey versus Sam Holloway.
Mm-hmm.
That was on episode 135 on YouTube. People can watch that there. It's a great match. Sam Holloway is great. If y'all haven't ever heard of him,
I haven't seen him yet, but I've heard good things about him.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. I was like, whoa. Like I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? I just knew he was gonna be something good because the WWE ID tag, and then pleasure to meet, absolute fantastic to have in the locker room, great guy, and then he delivered a match like stellar. And we're about to have that rematch in Richmond on April 12th. So it'll be a WWE ID showcase match in Richmond.
No kidding. That's good to know.
And then this Thursday coming up, we got another WWE ID showcase match with Freedom versus Marcus Mathers.
Oh, Marcus. I'm familiar with Marcus. I've seen him in some GCW matches.
Yeah, that one should be really, really good.
Yeah.
So
now, how's it been? You've got this new partnership going on. I don't know much you can talk about this, but how's it been before? Let's talk. I want to back up a little bit. You guys are running a weekly show now.
Yes.
How has that been? Because we were talking to another friend that's a promoter and a booker, and he is not there yet. Obviously, they're newer and they're in a different area. But we kind of wanted to pick your brain on, what's it been like running a weekly show?
Oh, it's different. It's so different. It's like you're dodging traffic every single day. It's crazy. I read Ole Anderson's book forever ago. It's a pretty good read. If you guys haven't read it yet, it's called Inside Out: Corporate America Destroyed Pro Wrestling. And he discusses how he never gave guys time off because his job was thinking, because he ran all the shows and everything. Can't take a day off from thinking, so why should they get a day off from wrestling? And I'm like, man, that's funny. I was laughing like that, and then I was like, oh, it's so true. Like, you just don't stop. Like, everything that comes in your head, like, you're like, good idea, bad idea. And then you're like, how can I make the show better? What can I do next? I'm actually going to start implementing a lot of cool ideas. Well, I think they're cool. I'll let you all be the judge of it. But I want to start implementing short animation, from different local creators, not just local, just just different indie creators. I'm gonna put it out there and see what happens. And
now similar to Ashe, because just real quick here, Sam, they have Mission Smith and obviously Spider. The Spider has been on here. They don't just do. I mean, Spider doesn't just wrestle; he does other things. So you guys have an artistic bent at CCW, similar to what Ashe is doing in North Carolina, Charlotte.
Okay, that's very cool. I like that you're involving
Houston
local
Genius
people.
there, who the little heart in the background. He wrote me that at the Livonia show and gave that to me. He's a 9, I believe. And he made his own film and won a kid film contest.
That's awesome.
And I'll put all the links to all of the shows and stuff in the comments here because I don't have everything in front of me, but we'll put it in the links below so that you guys can check out the weekly shows, like Paul said, so you can judge. And I will give it back to him. But I did want to throw that out there, is that similar to, because Ashe does a lot of music with their show. And they bring in musical artists throughout the show and do things like that, or other kinds of, and then specialty things. And so I think there's a lot of because of crossover creativity, because like what we've talked about with the Ren fairs and so forth.
Yeah.
I like that, to see those things happening with that sort of thing.
That's
so
a
now,
really cool aspect.
But back to you there, Paul. I just wanted to point out, because you've got so many talented people, not just in the ring, but doing all kinds of things around Metro Detroit and the colleges. And as little as, and this is like we were talking about before you came on, if we don't have the kids, we don't have a future.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That goes without saying, kind of. But yeah, we got a bunch of talented people. How you just mentioned, Mission Smith has been doing a bunch of great work. He just got Freedom Ramsey booked on the Fox 2 News for us. He's going to be on there Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Excellent. I love that. That's the 11 o'clock show.
Yep.
Reiner Money is a huge wrestling fan, so he tends to book people on to the show. So one of our anchors on the Fox 2 show is a giant wrestling fan. I think it's hilarious. It's one of the things that we agree on.
It's fantastic to see that type of stuff. And then so he's gonna be promoting the March 8th event at Lance Cruz High School we got coming up, which is gonna be a big 3+ hour event.
Is that an anniversary show?
No. This is the March show. Anniversary show will be in June. That'll be our 4-year anniversary show. This will be our annual, what I call it, Keep It Moving, because it started off, I just named it because I was like, man, I just got to keep this thing moving. And then, it worked. So, and then the first one we had close to, maybe 250 with Alex Shelley versus Ryan Matthias. And then the second one we had, I think 470 plus with Motor City Machine Guns versus Freedom and Shogun. And then this one, I'm keeping the card very, very secret. I want to see what we can do. I think we can fill this place up. They seem to have a great time every time we're out there. I don't know if y'all had a chance to make it out to one of our Lance Cruz High School events.
I went to last year's anniversary show.
Okay, with the 2 rings?
Yep. It was, we realized, we were like, it was a longer show. I was like, because it's the anniversary show. So no, we had a blast. That was our first official show that we went to. And then we've been to 3. And again, because I can walk to the Richmond show.
Okay, right on.
I mean, it's in my neighborhood. It's up the street from me. And that's why I was there hanging out because I got my pal over at the brewery who likes to help you guys out. And also the Green Time Shop folk, Will, is wrestling brings people together, so it's so great. He was in the pub recently, and his wife was just laughing because he's like, they're talking wrestling. He's gonna be here for an hour. I guess I'll have one. So she went and sat away while he and I just chatted about wrestling. So we have to ask a little bit of questions about the partnership with WWE ID. How much are you allowed to say about what that's been like? And
I mean, I got pretty much free reign to say from the people. The answer they gave me was, since I don't officially work for them, I can pretty much say whatever I want. So, I think it's great. I love it. I personally wish something like this was around when I was first starting out in 2009. That would have been really, really great. Yeah, it's fantastic, I think. And then, like I said, they so basically it's like almost like they bookmark great indie wrestlers. You know what I mean? So like for me as a booker, it makes it great because I'm like, cool, I'm just gonna just cherry pick these people to put in there, and then occasionally they'll be in there with Freedom and have a WWE showcase match, and occasionally they'll be in there with CCW talent and non-showcase matches too. So so then they're gonna mix it up with our guys and whatnot, and but yeah, it's just been great. I've been I don't want to say dealing with them because that sounds kind of weird, but I've been kind of back and forth with them since August of 2023. And so like once this ID thing launched, I was just like, this is like perfect for like the independents, because then like hopefully gives the independents a little bump in sales in attendance. So therefore it gives them a little boost in business, and then gets more eyes on their local product. You know what I mean? Right. So like, for instance, y'all like local wrestling. So like, imagine if there was something you didn't know about, and because you followed WWE or something like that, you're like, oh, let me check out this local indie, and then it's like new indie fans. So like, it's just great.
That's good to hear.
I can't say enough great things about it, and they're all really professional, which is phenomenal. Like
of course,
it's so crazy to do. Like, and a lot of people will probably never know this, but it's so wild to deal with new people and see the difference in attitude between brand new people who've been around a while, quote unquote indie stars, people who've done indies for a while, and then legends, and then veterans, and now these WWID people. And it's like, I just love dealing with professional people, and it's usually the people that come out of WWE for the most part, you know?
Okay, that's good. I mean, that's great.
I don't know how much you can say, because the WWID program has not been completely clear on certain things, and you may not even know, but there was like something that like, so the wrestlers that are, I guess, tagged, that they're getting some sort of a stipend from WWE, but then but they're still able to, I guess WWE is not controlling their bookings, right? Like they don't have any say so in where they're booked, right? Or have you dealt with any of that? Like where they're allowed to wrestle, or can they only wrestle like with like other, because I know other companies are working with WWID. So can they only, like if Freedom Ramsey wanted to go wrestle, you know, somewhere else or wrestle somebody, would it have to be like at a company that also uses WWID is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Yeah, from my gathering, it's just the only time they have any say in it is really when they promote it, if it's a WWE official match, which has to be an ID person and an ID person working together or wrestling together.
Oh, okay.
But other than that, they can go wherever they want. That's why, for instance, well, I'll tell y'all. It's cool. I've been trying to put together Kylie Ray and Zeta Steel. So that would be an official ID match. But
right.
If I can only get one of them, and then they end up wrestling like Ray Larson, who's come onto the scene at CCW lately.
And she's some great ladies over there.
Yeah, she's tearing it up lately. So, like, for instance, that wouldn't be a WWE official ID match, but you'd still see a ID prospect versus a...
Right.
So, yeah, they can pretty much go wherever they want.
Okay.
That's excellent.
Cool. And then I know this week, and you may not know a whole lot about it, I know earlier this week they announced a title will be coming for WWID talent for male and female. And so I was curious if Freedom Ramsey were to be the one who won that title, would that mean that he could, like, would he only be able to defend the title against other WWID people, or could he bring that belt to CCW and wrestle one of your other talent for that ID title? But again, I know this is so new that you may not know anything yet.
Yeah, I truthfully don't know that. That one just I didn't know the belts were coming. I was like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, I was a big surprise.
Okay,
I thought last week, and I was like, that's what I told Mel before the show. I was like, he may not even know, because like this was just announced, so they may not know. Because I was like, well, that would be really cool. Because like, what if somebody like Freedom Ramsey won that? Like, that would be such a cool thing to be able to promote. But then I was like, I wonder what that, like, could he wrestle like other talent for that, or is it only other ID talent and I was like, I'm curious, because they didn't release like any details. They just said, hey, we've got these two titles coming, and which is cool because it adds obviously more incentive for the ID talent. to be able to have something like that, especially to be the first one. That would be a really cool thing.
Yeah, I like truthfully, like when Freedom got his contract, I was like, they were like, don't say nothing. I'm like, yes. I didn't say nothing to Freedom because I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Right.
And then like, so like there comes the day, like they sent me the contract in the mail via FedEx and everything. And they're like, here, like, you're going to present this to him on the show. And then the day of, I was like,
excuse me,
does Freedom know? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, because he hadn't said nothing to me. So I'm like, I don't even
right. Actually track. That sounds about what the experiences that people have that I've interacted with. So I mean, they know when it's great to hear that it's so they're not like getting in the way of any of your booking. You're continuing to do your story with your clash of the bookers and so forth right now without any interference.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, they literally like it's such a great. That's why I don't.
That's awesome.
The hate it gets online because it's been compared to a restricted free agency. I believe was it the words I heard. I'm not a big football fan, so I wouldn't know exactly.
Well, I know. I mean, yeah, for us, we didn't know. Like a lot of us, like even our WWE folks over at the Wrap, were like. Big shrug. We're just not.
They just haven't really put out a whole lot of information.
We haven't tried to hate on it because we've been trying to understand. Like a lot of us have been trying here at Fight Game Media, have been trying to dissect like how, because fundamentally, of course, it's good for independent wrestling. You've got a major label promoting independent wrestlers. What isn't good about that? So.
Well, and then also too, so like I think the really great thing about it is like if another company wants them, like so like let's say like Freedom goes to AEW for a match and they're like, oh, we got to sign Freedom, then WWE would be like, do we want to sign him now or we let the other company sign him? So that's
I heard some of that in the beginning.
An option on him.
That WWE kind of has like first dibs, I guess.
It's like, an option basically.
Yeah, so because like one of the talents, I think,
right of first refusal. I think
because
one of the legal. I think that's what the legal thing is.
Because one of the first talents they signed was Jack Cartwheel, who had regularly been in ROH, but had been doing GCW stuff, and then he got ID'd, and so then people were like, "Well, what does that mean?" And like he hasn't been on ROH programming since then. But that came up, like I guess, like if say ROH wanted to sign him, then he'd have to turn around like, well, I have an ID, and then the ID can say, like he said, can say, no, we want him, and then sign him so that he doesn't get, which is interesting. So that'll be really interesting to see how that plays out because they've got some of the talent that they are bringing in. I'm familiar with like Sean Legacy as somebody who has wrestled here on and off, and I've seen him in Jackson Drake as another guy who got ID'd, and I've seen him a lot because he was. We've talked about this. The Javon Evans, who's in NXT, when he was here locally and he was wrestling as Jay Malachi, Jackson Drake was his tag team partner, and so now he has been ID'd as well. And so it's kind of interesting how that might play out. But they are picking up some really good talent. When Mel told me that Freedom got ID'd, I was like, that sounds huge. I was like, that's really, really cool. And I'm glad that it so far seems to be benefiting you guys and doesn't seem to be harming you in any way. I think that's where some of the hate came from, is they're worried that like they don't want the indies to get depleted of really good talent, but we also want indie talent to get paid, obviously. So
I think the pandemic left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I think pre-pandemic a little bit, the launch of AEW, some of the things that went on there, and then the pandemic hits, which makes it even worse. And I think that and a lot of our local indies, again, you're like rebuilt. I mean, you started in 2009. You've been around. Fortunately, you're still here. You've survived. But I mean, the indie circuit took a big hit from the plague. So, I mean, it's kind of in a rebuilding phase. It seems like it's stronger. I feel good about them. I'm glad they're investing in keeping it a community event, because I'm here to tell you that the kids that poor Daryl, his kids are hooked. His kids came over from the brewery, and they're in love, and they won't shut up about it, and they're so excited to come back in April. So I'm like, ha.
That's awesome.
I turned your kids into wrestling fans. Ha ha.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. Yeah, I think this year is gonna be even bigger because I think Will secured some beer now, so now people will be able to drink some beer while they wrestle.
You know what? Here's a little inside baseball from locally, and that's just no one will care. Is that it was sprung on everyone at the last minute, otherwise, because you need at least there's a 30-day window on freestanding stuff. We have all the setup for it, but they launched it way too fast, and so this year we'll actually be able to bring all the local vendors and stuff like we did last year, because last year it was a canine rescue event, and we do all the proceeds. If the proceeds go to charity, the odd is free. So it's a community space. It's an awesome really cool space. I remember going there the first time, and the first thought I had was, you could totally run a wrestling show here. And then it's like, Paul heard me in the universe or something. And now we even have a Richmond Cup. And as someone who does, I do watch the product. I appreciate that you still use the Richmond Cup, that it wasn't just like something that you just did that the one time and it's a prop and it's only going to be used in Richmond. They actually use it. And it's someone that was an important member of our community. It's named after them. Cool. So it's kind of fun to have that little buy-in, because I know that Richmond local cable will at least show our show on our local cable, because we have the closed circuit Richmond City cable network here, and they televise the event.
I was talking to him about getting weekly shows out there, and he seemed all about it, but I haven't heard back. I might.
Well, you know how it is running 6 businesses and juggling all. We're all juggling the thing.
I didn't realize it was such a big community project out there.
Oh, this town is really great. It's got a lot of great people in it, and I think I'm a big wrestling fan, so when they heard it was coming, everyone was running to me and telling me. So
that's awesome.
It's wonderful. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that my community has embraced it. Is what I like about it, is that they are enjoying it. So like, you guys are part of that. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having us. I'm glad you're such a fan and whatnot. That's so awesome. Yeah, when I walked in that building for the first time, I was like in love with it. I was like, no way, we get to wrestle here. I'm like, I wish I was healthy. I want to wrestle here. I'm like, it's so awesome.
It's a huge space.
I just love it, man. Like the locker rooms are under the bleachers, like the stage, the way this basketball court's kind of sunk into the ground. Like, it's just awesome. It's probably one of my favorite buildings I've ever been in.
Wow, that's awesome. I love the Odd. I fell in love with it immediately too. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, this is great. Oh, it was the chili cook-off was the first time I was there. We have an annual chili cook-off.
Okay.
That also goes to one of the school. I think it goes to the volunteer fire department most of the time, because we love our firefighters here.
So. I have to get some wrestling at the chili cook-off.
Oh man, no, they would. There's 2 of them that we'll talk sometime. Okay. I know a chili cook-off that we could potentially pair with some wrestling.
We're gonna start talking so local, so niche. Everybody's gonna be like, "Where's the wrestling?"
That's fine. That'll just make people come see it, and they'll like it. They'll love Richmond. It's a great town. And it's all. These are all family. The people that I'm talking about, these are all family-run businesses. The Green Time Shop is run by them. It's a couple. They run it themselves. She's great. She's one of the most creative. Sam, she would be Sam's bestie because she makes all the soaps, and her and Nikki would love her. And then it's the family brewery. So all the people that are spurring you in my community are local businesses. So it's a lot of fun here. They throw themselves into things when they do here. It's very cool. I've been here for going on 6 years, and I love living in a community that throws itself into its stuff. That's how it's a town I grew up in, was a lot like that. So
it's almost like almost like a fairy tale type.
Like a little bit. It's a little scary sometimes. And again, we have our disagreements, like people are supposed to in a normal society. But this community is a lot of fun. So, and I'm glad that you guys have put your toe into it, because it's a lot of fun.
Really, really enjoyed up there. I took Freedom up there for greet at the thing. We went to the one spot across the street. It's like a little pub. It's,
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, I can't remember
You're the Starcraft Brewery, or did you go to the party shop?
They had food, if that helps.
Oh, okay. So you probably went to Commercial House then.
Okay, yeah, that was good. It was great.
Yeah, that's right across from where the meet and greet was. Yep, they're also a family-owned business. Their co-owner, she is a volunteer firefighter also. So that's how closely linked that all of that. I mean, it's pretty crazy here.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Like I said, that's like almost like I say this in like the nicest way, well, like almost like a fairy tale. It's like you hear about towns like that, and you're like, that doesn't exist. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's so cool. Yeah, I can't wait to go back there. Yeah, that food was good. It was super well priced. Like I've never seen food that was so tasty and affordable. And like that was Richmond. You know what I mean? It was awesome.
Yeah, we've got a cute little fun downtown. It's a lot of little closet community. We do our part to keep Michigan happy, and I'm glad that because I think a little bit because I was a fan, people were actually like their antenna were up. So
that's cool. Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think this one we're doing Saving Destiny Animal Rescue again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. I love them people too. Are you involved with that too?
I know who they are because I know that Holly works with them, and so I love what they do because I am a rescue owner myself, you know.
Okay, right on.
So it's one of those things where I was there talking to them quite a bit, and they have some fantastic stuff. And it was, you know how it is, Sam. It's a giant love fest when it comes to those events. So that's one of the things that we do love indie wrestling for. That's why Sam and I are indie fans, because sometimes we're like, give me a good indie show over a really expensive stadium show, because while that has its shot, like I love those, don't get me wrong, I think it's way more fun because when I see the people from my town or my hall on the TV in 5 years or 3 years or 2 years or whatever, I have a buy-in with them that way now because I watch them wrestle in my odd. And Freedom's cool. Like the whole group over there. You've got a lot of talent on your roster, actually. You're a little bit spoiled over there.
Oh, stop.
No, you are. I mean, and they're developing very well. I'm very proud of. I have a lot of fun watching it. So.
Oh, I'm really glad you do. Like I really am. It means so much to me. Yeah, we had I don't know if you saw it. We had a fan actually. I guess made it out to the show for the first time. It was his first indie show ever.
Wow.
It was a PCW show, and he actually made like a half-hour video about it, explaining his experience, how he found it, and everything.
That's so cool.
I'll make sure and link that too. That's fantastic.
I think it's called. I think his name was Deporticus. I think. I think Deporticus. I'm so. I feel bad for not knowing it.
But you guys started a Twitter now too, so we'll link all of this stuff for your thing, so people can check out your YouTube and check out. Guys, seriously, they're tag team.
Yeah, I mean, and so you said
tag team. For all those of you, all of us, we talk about tag team wrestling.
We love tag team.
Mr. Cat Daddy there has a very excellent tag team division to watch, and
that's awesome.
Very much enjoy.
I'm glad that there's some indie promotions that are putting some effort into tag team wrestling, because that's not something a lot of promotions in general seem to do, and which is unfortunate because I love tag team wrestling, and so I'm glad to hear that there's a promotion that's promoting them and doing some work with them. That's always a positive thing. And so for the people who are watching this now, you air live weekly. What is it, Thursdays?
Oh no, we record.
I'm sorry.
Every Thursday, and
gotcha.
Then one man crew over here. So
I understand.
I try to pump out the episodes literally within 6 days. So that's
still a pretty good turnaround for a one-man show.
Yeah.
But then when I say one man, I mean the editing. I mean, I have a great video crew. We got to do
right. Right.
Like, if you've been watching the show, I'm sure you've seen the video production take like a great uptick. Like it's just now. Mission Smith helped put that together, so kudos to him again. He helps out so much. Houston Genius actually I think on the last episode I just put out 136, he made his debut as our junior correspondent, where he's going to start interviewing different people here and there. So doing a great job. I'm glad you mentioned tag team wrestling, because it sparked something up in my mind I forgot about. When we started in 2021, basically the idea of City Championship Wrestling was formed in 2020. And then I started shooting pilots in early 2021. And I really wanted tag team wrestling to be the focal point. And that's the reason why tag team matches were the main event of the shows for the first, I don't know, I think 6 months, maybe a year of shows were the first. I was trying to build it off tag teams, because nobody does tag teams. I'm glad Triple H is starting to bring it back and whatnot, and really put focus on it. That's kind of cool. Yeah, did you guys see that? City Championship Wrestling Motor City Tag Team Champions, Motor City Machine Guns. They got signed to WWE right after they were still tag team.
They sure did. I have made great. I've believe me, that has been mentioned here. Hey, hey, those belts are mine.
It's like, yeah, they're stealing our talent.
That's that damn WWE. You're coming to get Motor City. What's wrong with them?
But yeah, it's great seeing them on TV. Like, it's all like, it's so cool.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Champions, But yeah, I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling. Always have been. I didn't know that they were even on the radar, honestly, when I brought them in. And I was gonna have them wrestle everybody. So
I don't blame you. I would have too.
And it was just like, man. And then all of a sudden they were gone, and I was like, oh well, good for you guys. I'm like, I gotta find something now.
Fortunately, they left a wake of good talent behind them. I feel like their work with those kids was beneficial, because
for sure.
The good talent is going to get taken. It's the way of the world.
Oh yeah, that's the whole point of the CCW is
exactly.
I want that. That's why I tell everybody. I said, hopefully in a year you guys will be off way better, and then I'll have a whole nother batch of people, and then it's just, and then I'll then they'll be up there in a year, and then another year I'll have a whole another batch of people. We just
because if you're like coming up and you see a company like, hey, this wrestler got tagged as a WWE ID wrestler, especially in like their first crop, I'm sure that's going to make you more appealing. Like, hey, I want to go work there because maybe WWE would notice me if I was there. So like that's definitely I think would only be more beneficial. And then and I'm sure even among the locker room, like if you're seeing this one guy get ID'd, you're probably like, well, I want to wrestle him because I want WWE to notice me too. So I was like, I'm sure it brings in like not even competition, but just like, hey, I want to up my game. Like if Freedom Ramsey has gotten this, then like I better step up because they're clearly paying attention to CCW, and so I better step up my game. That's how I would feel if I were a wrestler.
That's me too. I mean, as the athlete in me automatically goes, I want to wrestle that guy now.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. It is competition,
and that's it. I mean, that's what it's. Wouldn't I mean? I love it because it's better that we're doing that than we have our own feeder system. And it's like that's what indie is supposed to be. Is essentially our AAA for wrestling. And
took it out of my brain.
It's great. I mean, that's awesome. It's like junior hockey. I mean, and around here, junior hockey is the easiest thing to compare it to. But I got to see some kids play in Everett, Washington that are on, championship teams now.
See,
so that's amazing. That feeling as a, sports or sports entertainment or whatever, however you want to phrase it, but someone with the athletics persuasion, seeing that is something that's just so much fun. You love watching like your guy get better, and like I saw that guy in the gym, and now he's on TV wrestling like Okada or something.
And that's how I've told the story about Cedric Alexander a million times. Like I started out watching him in rec centers and paying $5 to watch him wrestle, and then he was on WrestleMania, defending the cruiserweight title. And so like that's such a cool thing to see that, to see that journey from the beginning. We have a question that somebody asked What are your thoughts on potentially using WWE ID talent?
Not quite unsure if I understand. Let me try that again. I'm not sure I understand the question, but if I do, I would love to use as many as the ID talent as possible. Is that the question?
We will find out. Our chat's kind of on a delay, so we'll find out. But I guess though, because like you said, you've got Marcus Mathers who's coming in, and my sister I pointed out she enjoys Marcus's matches as well. And then you've had, because we're talking about potentially having the Kylie Ray Zeta match, which would be incredible to have. And so,
I haven't heard back from him yet, but I'm really hoping
that takes time. The
that would be
works at its own pace.
That would be really cool to have them come in.
And the idea is to wrestle.
He said yes. That was the question, and thank you for answering.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm glad I understood.
Yeah.
I guess it would make sense. And I think that just in talking to some of the talent that's worked for you is just that they are interested in wrestling as many people too, because they want to get better. So.
And that's what it is, and that's what I was gonna touch on earlier when you said you're not sure if competition was the right word. I don't know if I'm making you guys more of a fan or spoiling something, but truth be told, it's a very real competition, and it's not real who tries to win and lose, but it's real as all right, so obviously wrestling has been so open, everybody knows about bumping and all that, right?
Right, of course.
Okay, cool. So you're going to try to bump harder than the guy. You're going to try to sell better than that person. You're going to try to be more electric with the crowd, more open.
Right.
That's how wrestling is a competition. So no, that's definitely the right way to think about it. And there's a lot of people out there now that don't think about it like that, unfortunately. And unfortunately, I think that's when people kind of, I'm not trying to rip on nobody, but you'll see the shows where you're like, oh, okay. Sometimes they might have really good matches, but then that's it. And it's well, y'all big wrestling fans, it's not just the matches,
Right. Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah, definitely a real competition. And I remember hearing the story. I don't know if they want my name said, but I'll mention the one name because it makes the story. But when they told Roderick Strong that his eyes got as big as saucers, and he was like, I knew it was real. I knew it was real. And it was yeah, it's very real. It's just, we're not trying to beat each other. We're trying to outdo each other. So
right. Yeah. Well, it seems like it's bringing in some friendly competition where they're not. I'm sure there are people who probably are gunning for Freedom Ramsey.
There's always those guys,
but like you said, it brings competition. And then if Freedom Ramsey does, get signed by WWE, then I'm sure there's somebody else who wants to take that and be like, okay, well now I want to be the ID'd wrestler now that he's gone. I want to be it, which they should, like you said, that's what they should be doing is they want to be, because it seems like, from your roster, that's probably Freedom Ramsey sounds like he's the guy. That's the guy that they should want to be like. That's the guy they should want to be wrestling. That's the guy, once he's gone, they want his spot. And they want to be ID'd. And so I think that it would be really interesting to see how ID plays out in these promotions, because I think it would only, competition breeds competition, and you want your talent, and so you want to get better. And so I think that it's really interesting to see how this is going to turn out. But I'm really excited that Freedom is that guy, and that it's bringing this attention to your promotion, which so far sounds to be great. And so I hope it continues to be a positive experience for both you and the talent. And it's not going to be anything that's going to give you a hassle in the future.
Oh, on quite the contrary. Like I said, the professionalism from these people are off the charts. I've heard other stories, horror stories and stuff, but my dealings with them, hey, got a question. Can I do this? Can I do that? What do you think about this? Do whatever you want. You're not under contract. Please don't have them do this. That's it. It's just that's awesome.
That's great. That's the way I love the word professionalism is something that does not get talked about enough, and is something that I think is hurting some places and people, is that they don't understand professionalism. And so when you're talking about haters and stuff, it's mostly the socials and the screamers who are going to be mad at everything no matter what. And Sam and I deal with that regularly. And so that's part of the the niche of being in a nerd niche where people are gonna like overanalyze it and tell you that and armchair book everything and whatever not. So we all know like the people working in the sphere understand that work is involved in it. So I think that that part.
I think the quote was attributed to Betty Davis, which was you're not a star in this business until you're or perceived as a monster or something like that. So basically, unless somebody's talking so much smack about you, you're probably not doing it right. You know what I mean? So you're probably onto something. You know, if you guys are getting that much, bull crap. You know what I mean?
They hate us because they ain't us. Oh, sorry, my New Englander coming out. I am not a fan. It's where I grew up.
But they hate us because they hate us.
Yeah, the Patriots fans can be real arseholes. I'm not gonna lie.
It's just it's funny. It was that movie, The Interview.
Yes.
Yeah, so they hate us because they ain't.
Yes, that was a big line from that. Yes. So before we wrap up with you, is there anything that you want to talk about that we didn't get to, or any of the shows that you want to promote, or tell the people where you find everything?
Yeah, you can find us every week on YouTube, City Championship Wrestling. We're at City CW1 on Instagram and Twitter, because I refuse to call it X because that's stupid.
Same here.
We're
Twitter us too. Always be.
So ridiculous. It's so dumb. Whatever.
I know, but it's good for engagement. We all have accepted it, so we can all you're in good company on that front. They have started in Twitter, guys. So if you are someone that enjoys the Bird app and needs to go over there, go follow their new Bird app Twitter with the same handle as this Insta Twitter.
Yeah, and I tagged them in a tweet a little while ago when he started, so it's on there too.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and we'll throw all the links to the shows and stuff in the comments on this video. So I will get that done so that everyone can go check everything out and see for yourself. And I do recommend it as a patron because, again, I do enjoy. I think that the tag division is a lot of fun, and I enjoy the talent there. And it's fun for me to see my fellow community members enjoying it too. And they're like, okay, now I see what you were on to.
I actually have a question for y'all. A couple questions. First off, y'all see the Dump Matsumoto show on Netflix?
I have not watched it yet.
I need to get to it, but
Queen of Villains. I've got a friend bothering me about it. He is very angry at me for not having watched it.
I need to get
She was in a match recently, as a matter of fact, on one of the TJPW shows.
I saw that she was. Yeah, like a couple weeks ago, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Still out there going strong.
I need to watch it because my friend is like, we need to talk about the show. So
it's incredible. It's incredible. I watched the dub version. I got to watch the subtitle version in Japanese because I have a feeling it's going to be so much better. But yeah, I definitely got to watch it. And then y'all excited for the Mildred Burke movie coming out?
Yes.
Yes. Very
interested.
Really,
really good.
It's hard. It's hard for cinema and television to do wrestling justice.
Yes.
They very much usually become they parody it. It was very cool. Jim Valley interviewed it just dropped me, but one of the guys that worked on The Wrestler, that was a guy out of the wrestling scene. He was actually even in a scene, and I'll remember it. But the point being is that that was one of the few flicks, and it was because Darren Aronofsky was actually committed to having a wrestler with him going, is this realistic? Is this realistic? Is this realistic? Very few people tend to do that. But then in the last few years, we've had like the Iron Claw. This Mildred Burke looks decent. I've heard that I've mixed things about the Dump Matsumoto show, but I think some of that is just like, it's because it's cross-culturally. Fumi hated it. So
did he? I mean, I guess because he
like didn't come right out and say it, but you know how like he's trying to be nice, but because he's such a nice person, and he just
well, he probably has a different experience from it, because that's somebody he's familiar with and he's watched her career,
right?
Where a lot of us are not familiar with her work, and so I'm sure that we probably would approach it differently than he does.
That's exactly what I think is that's why that was another reason it's like right on there. It's on my watch list. It's just like,
yeah, I think I want to watch. I mean, I know that there's the dubbed version, but I think I want to watch the subtitled version, because I feel like that. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that would be, I don't know, a better of the two, I guess I would say.
Like more authentic almost.
Yes, right.
It's kind of like watching New Japan before they had the English commentary.
Right.
Yeah,
that sort of feeling.
I prefer watching it with the Japanese commentary.
Sometimes I do too. I'm
more
not
into it. I don't know what the hell they're saying, but I'm like, it's so much.
You can definitely hear the inflection in their voices, and that's when you're like, okay, something is. Yeah, they definitely, they're very good at inflecting and things like that. I love listening to the Japanese commentary. It's fun.
They're good. I mean, again, without knowing exactly the words, we're all wrestling fans. I think we know what they're saying.
Oh yeah, and that's one thing I miss about the WWE Network, is because you used to be able to watch your pay-per-view with different commentary tracks.
Oh right,
and I'm like, all right, I don't want to listen to this. There's me as a fan now.
Yeah.
Their commentary has gotten a lot better over the years. I think that was a Vince McMahon problem, probably. Again, me as a fan now, that's no inside information. I don't know anything. That's just I just don't want you to think, like, oh
no, we know. You got to put the disclaimers out there, otherwise people go insane.
And it's just like, but like the way the Dump Matsumoto show would be compared to like her like actual matches would be like the way probably like the creative liberties I took with Iron Claw. Like how it wasn't like necessarily historically accurate.
Yeah, right.
A lot of things that were like, ugh, but I mean, like, I just love seeing wrestling portrayed very seriously on the screen.
Too. Yeah.
So even though it was, I mean, the Von Erich story is kind of a downer, but like Darren Aronofsky like chose to make the wrestler kind of a downer, and I'm like, I enjoy the movies. I love them so much, but I'm like, it's not all doom and gloom. Like
yeah, the upbeat ones are a little better, but I mean, yeah. I think they did. It was Kevin's story. I've talked about this a few times, but to me, it was like Kevin's story, and I think they told it as well as you're going to be able to tell it. And you can't include everything because you can't include everything.
Oh, definitely. It would have been a 14-hour.
It was already a 3-hour movie or something like that. So
yeah, and
you would have had to be like a 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the way they did the wrestling on that movie, because it wasn't like they were trying to do like. It was the first time I saw like movie style wrestling, if that makes sense.
They shot it more like Rocky, and I'm pretty sure that I think Garrett said that some of the cinematographers on the action were actually people that were from the Rocky films and things like that, so they understood shooting like combat sport for cinema,
right?
Because like honestly, like Rocky is one of the like all the Rocky movies, but especially the first few are like the best at that, where they shot actual cinematic boxing movie stuff. So it's not easy.
No. Oh no, I couldn't imagine that level. That's why I'm excited for Queen of the Ring. I'm like, oh man, this looks so great. And I know just knowing your story, I know there's gonna be some downer moments, but
of course,
it's a biographical picture. So therefore it's they're gonna, but from what I heard, they're going to take a lighter approach from what how they can, So I'm still really, really excited to see it.
I am too. Yeah,
me too,
looks really great, and I think it's because I know a little about Mildred Burke, but not like I'm glad that they're picking her to have a film about, because I think that she's somebody that's so important to the industry, and I think not enough people know her story, and I'm glad that they are focused. That's somebody that they're bringing in and that we're getting they're focusing on a female wrestler, and because I think a lot of times when you see, because there is the wrestler, and a lot of wrestling movies tend to be about male wrestlers, which obviously makes sense. So I think it's cool that they're gonna focus on her and tell her story and why she's so important to the wrestling industry. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be really good.
Yeah, me too. For all the reasons you just said.
Yeah,
for real. And then hopefully this does really well, because I would like to see a Mae Young movie, because like she was, there's a report, I think she was, I don't know what it was in the newspaper, I can't remember how old she was, but she ended up like beating the crap out of some dude or something like that.
Oh wow.
And I'm like,
she's I mean, that would be an interesting story, just because I mean, I hope that one that would be a difficult one, I think, to approach. So the right people definitely have to do that one.
Yes.
Oof.
Oh yeah,
that's a big story.
It'd be like when the Brat guy tried to get the rights to the Queen movie because he wanted to do all the crazy party stuff, and they're like, no, no, we got to make it in honor of this man, not all the crazy stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's not the way to do it. Anyway, good on them for not just cheaping out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm a big fan of women's wrestling, honestly, and that's what
I think your gals are great. I think that you've got some really talented gals over there. So
yeah. Ray Larson has really blown me away lately, because she's been like, I was like, whoa, because we had Leela Hall, Ricky Morris, Pepper Pride a couple times. I
saw Leela a few times. She's great. Duchess, I think.
Oh yeah, Duchess. She's been out of action for a while, but hopefully she'll be ready to come back soon. Yeah, it's just like I said, I want to just bring the best, you know what I mean, to CCW. Yeah. Like that's really what I want to do. So like not to tip my hand too much, but I'm looking at the Allison K's of the world to come in, and like,
ooh, that would be great. I love Allie K. She's my friend.
So again, like, no promises. I'm trying.
No, I know what you're saying. I know how it is.
And when I say I'm trying, like, cause like there's this whole thing, like when I was training, like a lot of people say, like in wrestling especially, they'll try to do, it's really life. They'll try to do something, and then they won't even. That just means no. But like, you know what I mean? You know how it is.
I hear you.
Trying something, like you actually have to attempt it, and then if the other person doesn't reciprocate, that's trying. Oh,
right. Yeah. we have much experience. We have much empathy for you.
For sure.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, thank you very much
for coming. Thanks for the conversation. It was great. We had a lot of really cool information.
We appreciate the talk, because it'll help some of our friends too. So we'll see you soon.
Rock and roll. See you soon. I love you.
Have a great day.
You have a great day.
You too.
See you later, Paul.
Bye. That was really cool. I'm glad that we were able to get him on and get some kind of information, because the WWE ID thing has been I don't want to say secretive, but like they're not given a whole lot.
They're just not transparent. It's not secret. No. They're just not transparent. It's been like, if you ask a question, they might answer it, but they're not really. But so, because to me, that's like when we were talking to Kilo, like the ideal situation would be exactly what he's talking about.
Right.
Is helping rebuild the indie circuit that has been kind of messed up by and whether it's personality issues or the plague or whatever things, that because our life in America has been so wild for the last 8 years or so, like trying to get things. I don't even say back, like we're here now.
Yeah.
There's no back to a place. We are going from here to forward. So we are like, and I think like places like CCW and what Darius is trying to do with Ashe and what we're trying to do with Fight Game, where we're frenemies with everybody. Oh, we all hate each other. And that's why we have, I said it earlier today. It was like, we hate Voices of Wrestling so much that we literally have a channel in our Discord for one of their shows, because they used to be on our channel and they're our friends. Yeah. We hate them that much. Like, we have a whole alumni section of our Discord because we hate each other so much, but we talk to each other almost every day.
Right.
And we I think the time of collaboration and not the time of member berries is what we need to embrace again. We are. Yeah.
I would say that this whole situation, I would approach just cautiously optimistic, because I don't trust them.
It's WWE.
We've seen how what they've done before, how they've held talent and held them in place so that they couldn't go elsewhere.
As Eddie says,
we saw what happened to the UK scene when they got involved, and so it's very early on, so it's too hard to say yet what this is going to look like, because we don't really know yet. I mean, once the show starts on Evolve, they start putting belts on people, then we might get a better idea. So I'm glad to have Bowser's perspective, to find out, so far what it's been like directly from, somebody who's dealing with him. And so hopefully that remains the case. But I will just
remain cautiously optimistic.
Because they're doing some other things that are questionable, which they tend to do. So hopefully it works out, because again, I want indie wrestling to not be depleted. I want them to not collapse. I want them to but I also want them to get paid and things like that. So if there's a balance to that, then I would like to see it. So we shall see how this because we still don't really know how things are going to play out with them. And yes, it is Eddie has,
as Eddie said it basically as we were saying. It did pop up in the chat. I saw that, and this is what we don't. Our fear is grounded in.
We've seen this story before,
correct?
More than once.
This is we have as wrestling fans who value the product that we imbibe. We are. We've read this book. We've seen this TV show. I mean, putting The Rock on Friday is just another testament to, and you said it. And the first thing I thought when I saw because I saw BJ's posts and John Alba, because I followed because my Blue Sky is not as populated yet. So they pop up on my thing I saw that they had filed those, and I was like, of course they were. I immediately was like, duh. But I was like, and then I saw the Rock stuff, and I was like,
somebody
really?
called it.
How dumb do you think I am?
Somebody called it Dwayne washing, is what they called it.
Really, to me, because I just have that. It's the Friday afternoon news dump, and then look over here. It's The Rock, everybody. Don't you remember how much you like The Rock? It's like more than half of your audience. The answer is no. They don't.
Yeah.
That was their mom and dad's wrestling. That's
right. And Cody is their wrestling.
People my age have.
Yeah, Gabe, I know, is doing the Evolve stuff because they're bringing
I saw that too. I did see
so Gabe has been there the whole time. I mean,
he has been. Yeah,
he's been there for the last few years, and that's what. So I think he is also, because he's doing the Evolve stuff. I think he is doing the WWE.
It was reported actually that he was going to be involved in the Evolve stuff. I saw that report because I've met him because he was, around here doing Evolve. So his name is one that pops up to me quite often.
Oh, interesting. Speaking of Evolve, I just got tagged in something.
Breaking news! We need to get a graphic. We need to get Mike.
It just happened. I got tagged in it, and I was trying to scan it to see what it is, and it says, "What is Calyx? Kalyx? WWE's new trademark." And it says many on social media had speculated that the trademark was a new name for Sol Ruca, whose real name is Calyx. However, sources in WWE claim that's not the case. However, it is a familiar face. Those close to the situation say that it is actually for Jessica Carr, of all people. The wrestler turned WWE rep was said to be part of the Evolve tapings recently, where she wrestled under a mask. WWE has already filmed 6 episodes, and we're told that she was on the 4th working in a tag team match. The two were already in the ring ahead of the match and didn't get a typical entrance. The 33-year-old Carr wrestled for years on the independent circuit as Kennedy Brink and Jessie K, as well as an NXT appearance as Kennedy Lewis. Upon getting hired from WWE, she became a full-time referee. Yes, she went the Thunder Rosa route, because remember, WWE tried to get Thunder Rosa, but only as a referee. They wouldn't bring her in as a wrestler, and she turned them down. But in this case, and that's also I always want to call her by her real name. I think she goes is Deshawn, right? I think that's the referee, the name that she goes by in WWE, but she was a wrestler as well, but they didn't sign her as a wrestler. They signed her as a referee, which happened. So that's interesting. And Jessica tweeted something a couple of days ago, and now I can't remember what it was that she said. And I was like, wonder what she's referencing. So I wonder if it's this. So it sounds like, so that'll be interesting. I wonder if she's going to just wrestle now, or if she's going to do a double duty, or what's going to happen. That's really interesting and perfect timing for what we were talking about. Yeah. Oh, okay. She was apparently, Jessica was trained by Bubba Ray. Yeah. And I had heard I feel like I saw her wrestle once or twice. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see how that turns out. If she continues wrestling and does not referee anymore. If she pulls, some double duty. So that'll be interesting to see. Well, good for her. I hope it turns out well for her, if that's what she wants to do. That's really cool.
All right.
But yeah, so we will move on to AEW briefly. So I didn't know how else to call it, because I keep seeing people refer to it as their hot streak, I guess, because obviously they did really the Grand Slam. Thank you. I was like, what's the name of that show? The Grand Slam.
That Australian show they did.
Yes, the Australian show and the Grand Slam Australia did really well for them. They got it paid off doing that super late show. They got 1 million people in the part of the show, and then I think they overall did like 500,000. I know that the opening match did really well for them. The sales ended up being pretty well once they moved to a new venue. There is the question of how expensive were tickets, which is a fair question, because we know when they have gone to the UK and have gone to, outside of the US, their ticket prices have been fairly expensive. So
they've even gone up in the domestic area.
Well, yeah, they have,
but definitely gotten pretty outrageous. I mean,
and again, every time I say,
different price point.
When you go to buy tickets, unclick everything and go to the standard ticket price, because that's how you get the affordable tickets, because that's how I got really affordable tickets for Revolution. And I've been looking at all-in tickets, and that's what I've been doing, is unclicking everything.
You have to do it when you're in the queue or before you get in the queue, because otherwise it does that, and that slows you down from getting the tickets that you really actually want to get. So.
Yeah, and
Ticketmaster is like, they are like the king of like sleight of hand right now. So like they're like, the dynamic pricing should be illegal. And pre-clicking the highest price tickets, so that I'm bouncing around trying to like grab tickets and fight people. Like, give me a break. This is
Well, and I've said it before, like Nikki and I used to go to concerts all the time, but one of the reasons we don't is because dynamic pricing prices you out of everything. And then they go and sell the tickets on secondary sites, and they're just as expensive, if not more expensive.
That's the reason that what's driving up the price is the people that are secondary market people buying up the tickets.
Yes.
That alone, that used to be called scalping, and it used to be freaking illegal.
Right.
But now we live where we live. So.
But there's, and there is some, they're trying to get some legislation in on it. But yeah,
because it affects, and the reasoning, fortunately, is because it affects online gaming transactions and so forth. Because those are, when you're playing games, a lot of times they have like mini buys. So like if I'm playing a soldier or whatever, I can buy a pack that gets my equipment upgraded or something.
Right.
But it's a little surprise box. I might get something out of, like, I might get something good out of it, or I might only get a couple of these tokens out of it or whatever. But it essentially like amounts to under gambling laws. It becomes gambling the way that they've done these games. So they have to do it, because like Roblox and Minecraft and even Fortnite has been one of the biggest, like, I'm sorry, Fortnite players, don't kill me, but like, apparently, because they've created things where it's like, oh, we're going to do this mod. And it's like, no, we're not. Just kidding. But you paid for it. And so it's both, it's not just affecting the prices, like hotels, airlines. It's not just clear your browser anymore, clear your browsing history anymore with travel sites. They are literally like working you on pricing. Because if you wait until the last minute sometimes and just buy that plane ticket, you can buy it for like $120. That was $500.
Yeah, some people are saying that they go outside the venue of like a show and they will buy after once the concert has started,
the box office,
a few songs in, then they'll buy a ticket that's available. And like I know I saw somebody, that's what they did to get Beyonce tickets on her last tour. They went and stood outside and waited, and then by like the fourth song, they were able to buy like floor seats for like a few $100 because they waited till after the concert started.
Yeah, and we ended up doing something similar in Canada, where because we went to Collision and we were talking to the guy, and he like upgraded our seating. He gave us like better seating for the next day. He moved us up a couple. It was like, okay.
Yeah, not this episode of Collision, or not the one in January of this year, but the January of last year. Nikki and I tried waiting till last minute to get tickets to see, and the prices just didn't change, and it didn't affect anything, at least not with that particular show.
It's a real pain in the hole right now. And I agree with you. We used to go to a lot of things too, but nowadays it's like I could fly to see my sister for that. Like,
but yeah, and I was like, well, that's part of the reason. Not that we wouldn't go to wrestling anyway, but like wrestling is typically more affordable, and the ticket prices aren't going to change. And
indie wrestling is the best value for your money. He gave you the price. It was like 10 and 50. It's 15 for the first couple rows and 10 for the rest of the thing. And all of these venues that I've been to, most of the venues you was talking about, not only are they great venues for wrestling, they're perfect for indie. They're School Gym and the Odd and places like that, and the KOC Hall. But even like their most expensive ticket I've ever seen has been like $20.
Yeah, they have. Well, and Ashe's most expensive front row is like $50, and then but then they go as low as $10. And then there's like kids pricing.
I feel like your operation costs are probably higher where you are than they are here.
Right. Yeah. And so, but they were like, because when I used to go to PWX, like front row was the same price. It was like $50.
Because I feel like that's totally like adjusted for, I think that's a cost of living adjustment probably. Because we have lower
and there's obviously when you're in a smaller
but
venue,
it's still
it's not like there's a bad seat, because I've done I've paid and gotten like the cheaper seats too. And
I usually, honestly, to be perfectly honest, we've learned, unless it's a really big venue where you have to get like closer or want to get closer, we do general admission because
we do it sometimes, but also I know you have the same issue. We're short. And so if we're buying third row seats, we can't see as well. And so we buy the front row
on the show
so that we can see.
But if I know it's a show like at Lance Cruise, I could see from anywhere. At the Odd, I know exactly where to sit to be able to see fine. In general admission, I mean, that's mine, so that's fine. But again, in Livonia, like it's so much better, because what ends up happening is you end up standing back, and that's when Houston was like giving us all the inside info on the show.
It was killing me. I mean, we've definitely done some of those things, like when we used to when Title Belt was running, like we would sometimes just get the general admission because we could stand and watch, and we could see everyone. And so sometimes
it just depends. It depends on which one. It's all different for everyone. That's what I like about it. It's like each specific location comes with it. But like you said, $50 is still,
because the way I tried it, because sometimes $50 is not always the easiest to do. But on the other hand, like I know that it's going to Ashe's talent. I know what it's going to, and so I'm more comfortable forking over $50 because I know it's going to pay the talent, and I know that it's going to pay venue costs or whatever. Like, and so I want to support them.
So you're investing in your local promotion because you want to see it flourish, because it's built by good people who are doing good work. So
So exactly. That's exactly how I look at it.
I mean, I would pay $50 to see an Ashe show with you in the front row. I'd be more than happy to do that. That's, to me, incredibly reasonable. And again, it's
if you go through, because they sell their tickets through Eventbrite. So once you've gone to a show, and like if you go again, they usually offer like a 10% discount for like the next show, which is a cool thing. So it saves me a few bucks. which is nice. And so especially
because you can put that towards merch when you get in.
Right. I told you, yeah, there was that one time that Darius, we went and we didn't buy typically we buy our tickets in advance, but this time we didn't. We bought it the day of because we weren't sure if we were going to be able to make it because it was their block party show. So it wasn't a typical Ashe show. Mm-hmm. Had some Ashe matches, had some music, but they also had local vendors. And I told Darius, I was like, I spent like $50 within 10 minutes. And I was like, because I didn't buy my so I was like, Nikki and I got our tickets, and I was like, and then I went and saw this local person and I spent money with her, and then I went over and I bought a piece of art that was like $10 from somebody else, and I was like, all right, I've spent like $50. I've been here 10 minutes. I have got to go sit down. And he was laughing at me, and I was like, and he was like, well, you could have bought, and I was like, I know, had I bought tickets beforehand, I would not have run into this issue, but because I waited till the day of the show to buy my tickets, and I bought them right when I walked in, and then I went and purchased them like literally within 10 minutes. I was like, all right. I was like, I have to cut myself off now.
You would be in trouble. I think our second Richmond Cup is going to be because we have time to prepare for it this time. And it was great. We did great. I mean, I think all things being equal, like it was really cool. Like, and it's great. Like I said, that they've been keeping up with our storyline and like they've got our cup and all of those things, but and that everyone's bought in on it around here, that it's a fun event that brought in a lot of interest. This year, the vendors locally will, because it's planned out this time.
Yeah.
There will be a ability for StarCraft and Green Time and the parties and the local and Commercial House and all those other places around town. And we have like a local, one of the gals that's a member is also a celebrity chef, and her husband sells a variety. Jim's nuts. Free plug there. But he does like all these different home, like from scratch, different flavored like almonds and cashews and you would, I know that you would love Green Time. And
yes, I would.
You two would not be able to run away. You'd love. She makes a beer hand soap that's based.
Oh yeah,
on
you told me about that. Yeah.
For the brewery, so it's so cute.
That's awesome.
And then last year she made so much kettle corn to sell at the event for like $1.50 or something like that, that she was like giving it away to all of us and the wrestlers on the way out.
That's always good when you can feed the wrestlers.
So yeah, definitely. They were happy. They were like,
I'm sure. So Josiah is here. Hello, Josiah. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
And thanks to everybody else that has in the chat with us as well. We appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys, seriously, we're not ignoring you. We are. We greatly appreciate
you. You guys missed that we had Rhea Ripley in the chat earlier.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, well, okay then.
Yeah. I was like, whatever, it's pushing the algorithm and they're not saying anything out of pocket, so I'll just
the words right out of my mouth.
I was like, they're not saying anything out of pocket. Clearly, I would hope that people, I don't think anybody fell for it and believed that it was the actual Rhea Ripley here. So that's another reason I was like, I'll just let it go. And then
they weren't saying anything out of order that we and again, all of you that know us know that that Sam is Sam doesn't mess around with the band hammer, so don't come up in here, F around and find out. In here is how you so. But if you want to help boost our algorithm by being weird and not like, that's cool. We appreciate the views. Thank you.
Thanks for pushing us up there.
Thanks for pushing our sponsorship numbers.
Josiah's in Canada, and so for him, his indies are generally $30 to $40 and then $20 for admission. But general admission rather, but it's still pretty reasonable. And
I don't know what that equates to in American dollars. So.
And Fernando says he wants to go. I went to so much independent shows because of the awesome prices. Yeah, that's how we ended up getting
worth it.
Well, and we were even going to pure shows, which was like, so like for those of you who like, so at the time PWX was like our main promotion, but then they were doing pure shows, which was supposed to be for up and coming talent. And then it kind of ended up being crossover where it was people from the main roster and also up and coming talent is where it ended up mixing. So we were seeing a bunch of stuff, but like, so that's where Suge was at. That Darius Lockhart was there a lot. Jay Malachi, who is now currently Javon Evans, that's where I saw him the first time when he was 15 years old. Again, he's only 19, but I think he just turned 20, but when he was 15, I saw him wrestle Jackson Drake, who has been WWE ID. Jackson Drake was his tag team partner. They were called the Young Prodigies. Very fitting and very true. And so like he wrestled there. So then those tickets were like $20, for front row. And so like we were like, so you had those cool things as well. Maria says that she's 5'3" and she totally gets what we mean about needing to sit in the front. And Josiah says he accidentally spent $100 on WWE merch at Survivor Series 2016.
Oops. I hate when that happens. Hey, listen, when we finally found the merch at the second Forbidden Door, hey, I
heard merch was a problem in Australia again.
I was just going to tell you that. I read in the because I had to read this. I ended up learning from Dave this week that the merch problems.
I saw a fan tweet about it, that there was one merch table tent area, and by the time they got it to it, it was like, and then they didn't put it on. So, and like, I guess I can't remember now exactly what the tweet said. If she'd been there, if this person didn't get to it didn't open till an hour before the showtime, or by the time they got to it, it was an hour before showtime, and it was basically picked over, and there was hardly anything to choose from. So apparently, somehow they did not learn their lesson from 2 shows in London. And still did not learn their lesson.
USVA guy is here. We've all talked about the merch problems with all the what?
Yeah,
stop going to a different. If you're coming here from a different place, if you're coming to a place from a different place in this era of wrestling, over prepare with the merch, because you guys are way under preparing. Like, I did not get a shirt.
I know it's an extra cost.
I didn't get a shirt.
All that stuff, but just do it. It's worth it. You'll get your money back and what you're spending.
So, I mean, it's not going to be coming up, and that'll change. But under the underlying price point, they make so much money on that. They don't pay anything for that with the return. I know retail. That's what Bob's been doing.
Pay the money to send it over there. I know that. Pay the money to send it over there.
It will be. It's so nuts. Like, again, like the first Forbidden Door, my friend comes from Ireland to go to Chicago and he's trying to get a hoodie from the event that he's at. The hoodies are sold out. He orders one when he gets back to Ireland, and they ship it from where? Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
WTF?
I know.
He's like, why didn't they just let me buy it there? And I could have taken it on a plane with me, and it would have saved all this extra.
You could have gone to Pro Wrestling Tees while you were in Chicago. You could have went to Pro Wrestling Tees store, and they would have made it for you on the. I believe they would have made it for you on the spot.
It drives me nuts.
It is. I know.
That one's an easy one because that's just icing money. That's like, you don't. It's just that goes in right in the. It's like, yay. We have money for more pyro.
Yeah, right. Speaking of pyro, Penta got some crazy pyro. Like Penta's already had like a bunch of pyro when he comes out, but he came out Monday, and now he has spinning pyro. There's this thing behind him that spins, and it's so cool. And so I don't know where they got the pyro budget for Penta for, but maybe it's all the merch he's moving. And so
I guess if he's like they're being presented well, then great. That's
so far he has been. I didn't go. The show is actually in Charlotte on Monday, and I was like, I'm not paying money for that. But I was sad because I didn't get to see Penta wrestle Pete Dunne in a rematch because they just wrestled a few weeks ago. So
that'd be a good match.
So yeah, I was like, that one I would have liked to have seen. And then they did bring the New Day didn't wrestle, but they were out there because everybody still hates them for what they did to Big E, but I love them. So I would have been okay. I would have been happy to see that. So, but so far his presentation is so far they're doing okay with him. So hopefully they'll keep that up. But yes, Penta has very cool spinning pyro that came out of nowhere, and we were like, wait, that's new, right? Like he didn't have spinning pyro before, right?
That's awesome.
I was going to bring this back up. A USA guy says that, our front row is between 200 and 300, depending on the venue. Yes, I have seen out of my budget. That's why I don't sit. When I go to New Japan shows, not that it's not worth it, but my budget does not fit that. And so
you say Wrestle Kingdom is 5 to 1,000, still the price per things for me.
But for Wrestle Kingdom,
he's converted that from yen for me. So is is 500 like just the get-in price for that? I mean, I don't know what it costs to go to Wrestle Kingdom. I know what it costs to go to WrestleMania, and we bought our tickets at the last minute for WrestleMania 35 because we were waiting, and we were in the nosebleed seats, but we were in the building. We could see the mat, as John always says. He's like, as long as I can see the mat is his rule about wrestling. So
understandable.
Yeah, that's fair.
When we've come to when New Japan has, I think because PWX is not here anymore, so they don't have a company to jump on with. We would do like row C or D because that fit our budget better, and we could still, for the most part, can still see. But sometimes I get stuck behind tall people, or we would find out like our friend Matthew is a lot taller, so we'd find out where he was and move like over one seat so he wouldn't be directly behind him. But then Doug's wife Kat is also tall, so sometimes we would have some issues seeing, but for the most part, but that's also because we're short. But yes, but New Japan is totally, and again, I haven't been since, so they were doing more. So that was strong shows, which, Mel and I love the strong shows. We were huge fans of the strong brand. So I haven't seen the current version of New Japan where they're bringing over like the Tanahashis and the, when they were bringing over like Suzuki, so I haven't seen those shows. And so that's also something to consider, is when you're bringing in that caliber of talent, and your Zack Sabre Juniors and things like that, then you're paying for that talent as well, which to me is worth it. If it was in my budget, then absolutely.
I think Maria paid probably like 2 or 3, 4 maybe. I mean, we were in a reasonably good spot. Our friend that had Honor Club at the time was the one who bought all the tickets for everybody. And he got his maximum number, and we all bought in. Right. So we got reasonably decent seats for reasonably. I mean, they were pricey. I'm not going to sit here and be like, they are cheap, but
right.
A few $100s is probably about. I mean, it's similar to like Wrestle Kingdom or something like that. Is probably what we spent on those. I mean, probably not quite a K total like for both of us, which is nice. So,
right.
But I mean, that was in 2019 or 2018, right? So that's, and shit's not cheaper than it was.
No. Maria says that you have another fabulous hat, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I try very hard.
Yeah, we all do love Rhea Ripley. Josiah says that we are a celebrity. We're celebrities because we had Rhea.
It's Fernando saying that he can't wait to tell everyone he was in the chat with her. Oh man!
So Josiah said that would be $15 to $30 American for the Canadian ticket.
Oh, that's not bad. That's very reasonable then.
Josiah said he's known for his band hammer as a Twitch watch.
You have to be.
Listen.
Look,
I get it.
People need to treat
and Twitch
people
is probably
nice.
way crazier than the crap we deal with.
It definitely is. Maybe not in your comments on socials, but.
Yes, I agree. I the Harley puppets have got to go on sale. I know this is a fairly new thing. She's only been using it for like what 4 or 5 times now. But yeah, they got to get on that.
Somebody in one of our Discord channels posted the picture of when Dave dropped the newsletter. It was a picture of the puppet looking over the ring, and he clipped it and said,
"Oh, I have a clip of it too."
It said, "I see. Even Dave knows the puppet is over."
Yes,
and I was like, gift. All right. I mean, listen, as one of the marks that is willing to buy one, get a puppet up in your store immediately. What are you doing? As Sam likes to say, what are we doing here?
Right, exactly.
Leaving money on the table is probably one of my biggest pet peeves in the universe.
Josiah said that Collision was here in his city and had one merch table and a nabbed a nifty Sting shirt. I told this before, but at the Collision, not this year, but the Collision last year, because it was right around the time that they thought it was a good idea to bring in Ric Flair. I don't know why. Remember when they thought that was a good idea?
Yeah, I remember that now.
So here I'm trying to forget it. But... I was my friend works merch, and we were talking about after Collision. I ran into him and we talked for a minute, and he was talking about how they couldn't sell Ric Flair shirts in Charlotte. They were like not selling any of them. They were selling the Sting shirts and like and like some other shirts were selling really well, but it made me laugh, and I was like, "That's what they get."
Good. It's the same thing. I mean, it's like what Mike's been talking about with Impact TNA, because Tessa Blanchard's back over there, and they've got people chanting "You're a racist" over there, and
they're cutting to the crowd like it's a good thing. They're cutting to the. I
think Mike, from what I can tell from his most recent clip that I need to sit down and watch. And I'm going to recommend it without having seen it, just because I know that he's really good about it.
Because I retweeted it from both. I figured you might. I retweeted it.
This is the elephant in the room, and you are going to have to face it. Is essentially, I think, the crux. I just want to watch what he had to say about it, because
I only saw the clip that he posted, which is TNA will offer Tessa as an interview, but you cannot ask her any hard questions. If you do, they will pull. You are no longer allowed to interview anybody else. But if you play ball, they'll let you interview Joe Hendry or somebody like that. But you're not allowed. Like, they'll give you. They're using Tessa as a, like, if you play ball and ask the softball questions, then they will give you. They'll let you interview other people.
Grosser.
But if you say no, you're not going to tell me what I can and can't ask Tessa Blanchard, then you don't get access to anybody else, is what they're currently doing. And he says he knows of 2 reporters at least who flat out told them, no, you're not going to control what I can and can't ask. And they've been cut off. Which,
well, if that's TNA's strategy, they're going to have a really hard time with PR.
Yeah.
Because sooner or later you run out of journalists to push your shows and advertise. And if you're putting off those people are funded by advertisers. The very advertisers you need to buy time during your show.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Washington Post is owned by like Amazon and shit. It's at least they hold their servers, is what it is. But the point being that like everything is intertwined. Like the people that are advertising for you are not going to want to advertise for you if that's sort of what your stance is.
Right. Don't be an actor.
Agreed.
Remember when Josiah probably remembers. So one of the times that like a year or so, maybe it's been 2 years now, I guess some WWE fans got a hold of the match times thread, and several people called me a stopwatch merchant, and we were all like, what does that even mean? And Josiah said, do you sell stopwatches? Like, what does that even mean? Like, so that brought that back. He was like, Sam, do you sell stopwatches and watches and things? I was like, yeah, that's Mike got me out.
I mean, Mike gives out to us for not having stopwatches that are power bombshells.
That's true. We do need power bombshells
stopwatches. I think I could probably make them pretty easily on print.
They probably won't sell. They're not puppets, okay? Maybe that's what we need. We need a power bombshell puppet.
The little bomb.
A power bombshell puppet.
The little bombs. Plushies.
And she's going to come with a stopwatch.
There you go.
Nikki said that she follows a puppet account on Instagram and it takes a while to get them made, and she bets that's why. Yeah, she does follow. Yeah.
I saw that it popped me. It's
an actual puppet Instagram. Again,
I know what you're talking about. Bob follows like crocheting channels, and he did. Yeah, one of his favorite TikTok channels is called Brocheting.
Amazing.
And this guy like makes crocheted like weapons and armor and all these funny, and then he tests them. But what he's doing is like he throws the axe, and then there's like a bunch of yarn guts, the yarn gut gag with the prop. Yep. Oh man, I mean, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, apparently Tessa got some "love you" chants, which is interesting. Maria says Tessa has been handling everything like a pro out there, but with a vicious fan reaction. Well, I'll be clear. I mean, we've made it clear that we are not Tessa Blanchard fans, and she deserves what she's getting. If they're going to put her out there, if she's not going to take responsibility for what she's done, from what everybody says who was in the know, she has not taken responsibility for anything she's done. The only one she did was because she did claim that she was sorry with La Rosa Negra just because they wanted to put her in some matches together in Mexico. And there's been some people you see Alicia Fox who yesterday apparently has posted pictures with her before. But that doesn't, just because a Black talent is co-signing her does not mean that she is sorry for the things that she's done. So there will be no Tessa Blanchard defending from us. I will just, if you are a fan of hers, that's your prerogative. But we are not fans of her here. We will not defend her in any way.
No. No. Anyway, Josiah, that's hilarious that you enjoy that. That's amazing.
Sounds like, that reminds me, it sounds like Ricochet, like now they're gonna have a Ricochet. Ricochet gets a yarn puppet and they'll name it Brochet.
Yes. It's very funny. Believe me, it's Bob picks the funny channels. He's got a couple of TikTok channels that I'm like, all right. Like, I had to download it a long time ago because of everyone being on it, and I have to figure things out. And it is a really like, engagement wise, like the people that have mastered it, they're wonderful at it. That's the kind of stuff that you should be using the internet for. He's hilarious. He really is. He crochets these. Yeah. Even you and Nikki would get a kick out of it.
Yeah, Nikki, I was gonna say, Nikki has shown me that puppet IG account that she follows sometimes, and they're really cute, and the little videos they do for them are really cute, and so. But
I like the artists, like my cousin used to do. She's an artist, and she used to do drawing, but she used to do speed paints, and those are. It's like, that's channeling, like Bob put the Bob Ross channel on our default Samsung TV, so Bob Ross is on now, and that's what I need in my life. But so when she does, this reminded me of that, is so speed painting videos where she's drawing and filling them in, and she speeds them up and puts like music or information underneath, like how she did it. Mm-hmm. I could watch those for hours. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, we found out recently that we have a Bob Ross channel that shows on TV that shows nothing but Bob Ross stuff.
That's what we have.
But sometimes that's what we watch.
TV default.
And they brought in a new one because I guess there's a guy who teaches his, because they started airing, we just saw them, but apparently they started airing last year, and I think the guy's name is like Nicholas or something, but I guess like he's trained in Bob Ross's style, and so now he does. So they've got a show with him where he does.
That's nice.
I've seen a couple episodes of his, and it's from last year, but apparently there's some shadiness with the Bob Ross estate where like they are like, or some of the merch that's out there now, like the money is not going where it doesn't go to like Bob Ross's family or something like that. Yeah. So now I try to be careful with.
Make sure you're supporting the right things.
Right, exactly.
Do your research. Don't just wantonly send money to pump something that seems right, because a lot of times that money doesn't end up in the hands of. Look for mutual aid groups is the best way to go, or default to the people that are in charge of it, like families. Yeah. Like when that.
So they were talking about the Bob Ross, like there's the Bob Ross Chia Pet, like that money goes.
Yeah, Samsung TV has one also, and when you turn our Samsung TV on, it defaults to its channel no matter what you do.
Listen, at least I would rather my TV default to that than certain other things.
Sure, it's just that for a while it was on like Pawn Stars or something, and Bob figured out that you could change it and be like, I was like. This is awesome, because even what I do when I like go out, because the dogs like background noise, I just leave Bob Ross on for them.
Right.
And the little one, the big one, like the older one, she likes when he plays with the squirrels. Mm-hmm. She'll like stop and watch. Right. So cute. Like, all right, this works. This is dog TV now. Free dog TV.
We have to move on to some other subjects, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on Tessa Blanchard, but I just want to say this. Tessa has had multiple chances, like 5 and 6 chances, and still has not done anything with those chances. She had wrestling. They brought her into Women of Wrestling, and she nuked that by her behavior. Every time she's given the chance, she nukes it in some way. She has never done anything to seem apologetic, and that's your opinion of her. I don't have an issue with that. But for me personally, Tessa has multiple chances and has done nothing to it. And that if you cannot ask her, if I am given the opportunity to interview her, but I cannot ask her about those things, then that's not making her have any type of accountability, because you are hiding it and you are not letting her face her actions for what she has done from the public. And so for me personally, she has not done anything to rectify anything that she's done, and she's been given multiple chances and she has blown it every single time. So for me personally, I have no good things to say about her. And again, I'm not trying to alienate you or anything like that. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad if that's your opinion of her. But for me personally, that's just how I feel about her and feel about the situation. And I try to avoid talking about her because I have no reason to, if she's not going to try to make amends or try to admit anything that she's done, and she won't do it publicly. And TNA is hiding that fact. And so TNA is doing her a disservice by enabling her behavior.
I mean, I guess if there was, I'll use the argument that often gets used, but if there's nothing wrong, then what's the problem? Like, if she's not responsible, if the things that she's being accused of, or things are being chanted at her are I know if it were me and someone were saying something about me that was just categorically untrue, you better believe I would be defending myself. And
she'll say, she'll just be like, oh, it's not true. I'm not, but you have peace, because even like Chelsea Green said last year, like like Chelsea Green even said last year, she responded to a tweet and was like, because I guess she was saying she had been having some mental health issues, and she was like, we don't want her to have mental health issues, but like take some accountability and responsibility for the things that you did. And she hasn't done that publicly or privately. She has not reached out to multiple, because it's not just La Rosa Negra. There are multiple women that she has done things to. And she has, from what Chelsea Green said, as of last summer, last fall, she still has not made any amends with these people. She tries to blow it up, she tries to push it under the rug. And so if that's how she's going to handle things, then she deserves what she's getting, because she's not taking any accountability for her behavior. But I mean, let's move
on. We're going to move on. Because I mean, everybody, again, you said it, opinions vary.
Sure.
And you're entitled to yours. And that's right. All. This is this is me speaking on behalf of me, and Sam speaking on behalf of Sam. And
right.
Well, and this is something that, as someone who also struggles from mental health issues, one of the first things they teach you in cognitive behavioral therapy is that just because you have a mental illness doesn't mean that your symptoms and the things that affect your mental health don't have real world consequences.
Right.
In other words, and that's everything from addiction recovery to PTSD and PTSD. And I mean, is that you are going to have freakouts, and you are going to have panic attacks, and you are going to have these things, and you might say things, you might do things to the people that are closest to you or at work or whatever else. But actions have consequences. And those of us who are, I think, as someone who's struggling with mental health, I don't like the thing that contributes the most to the stigma is when somebody goes, it's my mental health issue.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, so there's like all of us out here who are really trying every day, every minute that we wake up dealing with these things in our head. And you're just like contributing. It's like the same thing when a woman votes for somebody that is anti-woman. I don't get it. I don't understand the idea that is how that functions. It's for those of us who are really working hard every day to not be jerks because we have mental health issues.
Right, right.
That's the biggest part of what stigmatizes it, is that the crazy woman, the crazy lady, the hysterical woman. Sure. That's, we've joked about that before here. We've talked about it seriously, but that adds to the stigma. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you look at someone like Jon Moxley, he almost lost. He could have, if he had been in WWE, we wouldn't know who he was anymore, because he decided to go to rehab.
Right.
And take care of his mental health. Because that's a mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a junkie. He's not a weirdo. He has a mental health condition.
Right.
He treated it.
Mm-hmm.
He's making amends in his life because that's part of addiction recovery. Like,
right.
That's, we all choose to conduct ourselves as humans the way that we choose to conduct ourselves. And, but again, as somebody who, that frankly is ableism, but, people don't like facing that, especially right now. And especially with the disabled community under attack, in my opinion, I feel like blaming your handicap on treating people shitty doesn't fly with me. It just doesn't. Because I don't wake up every day, and frankly, I say I don't get to do that with my mental health, or my disabilities, but I choose not to do that. I choose not to be the person that says, like, I'm gonna be an asshole because they cut out a part of my brain. Like, But I think that it is someone who can relate to, I just don't appreciate it when somebody's out there like stigmatizing people like us. And I say us because I speak with people on our very Twitter channels, even on Powerbombshells, about this kind of stuff, because we have touched on things that touch on things that are associated with it. Is that, and you have friends, I mean, wrestling has brought a lot of us together to be able to advocate for ourselves, because that's who's doing it. So and I mean, I hate to get off on a tangent, especially knowing what we have to talk about left, but the idea is that, like, that to me is, you're never going to be a friend of mine using ableism as your excuse to do mean or not humane things to people, because there's a lot of us that don't use our disabilities as a crutch every day. And it's hard.
I think more of, she was trying to use it as, you should feel sorry for me because people are mean to me, and it's made my mental health suffer because people are mean to me, instead of, this is, my actions have caused people to react to me in this way. And so, we'll be here for another hour, but
I know we can't.
That's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Yeah,
and again, I don't want, and Maria, I'm not picking on you specifically, and I don't want, I hope that didn't come across that way. And I appreciate your input with that. And to everybody else in the chat, I don't want you to think that I'm calling you out specifically. It was just the topic of Tessa has come up before, and because it's come up, and because of what Mike was saying, and I feel like TNA is shielding her from her behavior. But I didn't want you to think that I'm calling you out or anything like that.
No.
And if that's how you feel, and I don't want you, you're not wrong to feel that way. And I don't want you. I just personally, that's just how I feel about the situation when it comes to her. So I just wanted to clear that up and make sure that Maria didn't feel like I was attacking her or making her, because that was not my intent, if that's how it came off. So before we moved on, I just wanted to address that really quick. But we were talking about AEW's we were going to talk about the hot streak, and it turned into they don't know how to do merch, and which is a very valid conversation to be having. So overall, the point was their shows seem to be getting better responses from fans, especially Collision. I've seen the last 2 or 3 weeks, people are like, wow, Collision's really stepping up. They're having really great shows. Revolution's coming up, and even though the main event appears to be Jon Moxley versus the Cope is probably going to be our main event. The card otherwise seems to be a pretty solid card. They brought in, I'm not a fan of Gabe Kidd, but they brought him in, and I kind of hoped he answered Max Caster's open challenge, because I thought that would have been funny. But we got Brody King, which was hilarious.
Yeah,
then today,
I just hope you're wrong about the Bowens thing, because
I really hope, that's what I said again last night when I was
that's
watching.
That's going to be an entire that's going to be Powerbombshells Rage Out
Please
episode.
let me be wrong on that. I do not want Bowens to be the one that he finally
I'm a little mad at you for even speaking that into existence.
I know. If it happened, I'm sorry.
I won't blame you. I will blame Tony.
I apologize ahead of time if that ends up happening, because I put it out.
I blame Tony because the problem with when you say, I hope it's not that, and the reasoning is that because Tony has pulled some crap like that before, and
I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not new to some of how they do some of these things.
Right. He's not. And again, it's like we have been coming down on WWE, but Tony has been doing a lot of this. I mean, we don't want to see. We talked about this last night, even on Twitter with some people when we were watching Collision, which was the inevitable main event of Revolution,
right?
Which will involve yet another aging wrestler. That, and again, I get it. It's fine. Like, but.
I'm just ready for that story to be over with.
It's yeah. If they don't wrap that up at Revolution, I'm gonna be a little, unless there's something like else, unless they're taking it in a new direction. We need to be focused on the younger guys again. We need to get people back in the ring. We need to. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be seeing more of MJF because those segments do a lot of numbers. I'm back to reading.
I'm right there with you. It's like, this better be.
I actually, you know what? I have come fully all the way around, and I think I agree with you. I think that just give him the thing and let's go. Like, we need to move on.
You mean hang person?
Hang person.
Hang person.
That's pretty funny, actually. I will give him that. I would love to see the Hangman, but I don't know if it's going to be Hangman. Really feels like they're going to give it to Copeland on this one a little bit.
I will save it for our preview show.
Yeah.
2 weeks. But I don't think that's what's happening. I don't think they're ready to end the story yet.
We need to get onto other
things. But we what was I going to say about Collision? There was something else I was going to say about Collision. What was I going to say? It'll probably come to me. But
right. So
I thought Collision was solid. I thought the last few weeks have been really good. I am looking forward. I got home late. I was out of town for a funeral yesterday. So we were with the family afterwards. So I got home right when they were I got the TV on right when they were doing stuff with Okada. So I missed the opening with Mariah and Tony, but I did go back and watch. And luckily my editor Miles filled in for me until I could take over. And so I went back and read his recap of what happened. And then I watched the clip of it. So I guess there's a possibility they could main event finally a pay-per-view and end the story with them. But because they just main evented Grand Slam Australia, I'm assuming that they're going with Mox and Cope as the main event instead of just finishing out Tony and Mariah and letting them be the first women to ever main event a pay-per-view. Because if there's any story that should main event a pay-per-view for women, it would be that story.
Gosh, they are pretty. They are over. This is not like a men's. Like, this story is. Right, this is resonating with people. People are flipping out when Tony comes out. Like, it is.
Yeah,
it's kind of awesome. I mean, their women are getting as bigger pops in some of these things than the men right now.
Last night they even had because Queen Aminata. I need this woman to start picking up some wins. Please start giving her some W's because she's so freaking good. I mean, not that Julia's not, and I love Julia. But please give Queen Aminata. But they got dueling chants last night. They got some Aminata Julia matches. I mean, people
are engaged in the women's matches. It's so nice to see. I mean,
thanks for hanging with us, Josiah. It's good to see you.
It was great to see you. It was great to talk to you. It's always good to have you.
Yes,
we love you. We do not want to annex you.
We don't. Josiah and I've had conversations. We talk in Slack Josiah and I talk in Slack pretty much every single day, and he knows how we feel.
I think most of our good neighbors to the north. The problem with that is where I'm practically in Canada, and I actually discussed this on Twitter, and they were saying that they were happy to adopt Michigan because we get healthcare and we get education. So we're close enough.
LaRon says that they should main event Tony and Mariah at Revolution. It meets all the criteria of a story that should main event. I'm right there with you. And it seems like this is going to be the end of this story for now, which we talked about last week with when we were talking about it from Grand Slam, that it looks like we'll have one final match for now.
She did say they were going to, she seemed to make it clear that they were finishing the story at Revolution and how.
Yeah, that's where it seems to be going. Because, we've seen that's kind of what happened with Hangman and Swerve. It's done for now. They're obviously they'll eventually come back to it because that story is too good not to, but it's time to take a break from
undo a blood feud.
Yeah. And then, right. Yeah, Thunder Rosa and Mariah May would be a fun. Yeah, that would be a fun pay-per-view main event if I can get the words out. And so I actually wish they would have put Tony and Mariah on earlier for Grand Slam. Not a lot of people stay for the end of that show, so let the main event the pay-per-view. Yeah, I would agree there.
Revolution is, and I think it was Lyric, someone, or she was at least agreeing with someone, but it may have been her that said it, is that Revolution is like one of their most consistent pay-per-views. And I tend to agree. And also, it's our favorite pay-per-view because it was the first one we did together. Like we covered together from AEW. So I'm always looking forward to Revolution. I feel like it's kind of like my banner. But this is really one of, it's not just the association. I think that up to the thing, but it is true. It's usually one of their best pay-per-views. So not that their other pay-per-views are bad, because again, we've always said, even when we're slagging on it.
Before they added in almost monthly pay-per-views, Revolution was the kickoff pay-per-view of the year. And so Revolution was kind of the one that we talked about it. We kind of likened it to New Year Dash in the fact that it was the kickoff to what the stories were going to be for the upcoming year, or some of the upcoming feuds would be for at least the, if it wasn't for their whole year, for like, the next 6 months or so. And Revolution still tends to be that way. It tends to be the kickoff, which will be interesting now because they do have, we've already had Wrestle Dynasty. Even though Grand Slam wasn't a pay-per-view, that was a really big show. Then we've got Revolution, and then we have actual Dynasty coming up in April, and then we have Double or Nothing. And so there's stuff constantly going on. So it'll be interesting to see if that's kind of still their kickoff event for the year, when they've already technically, by and it's later this year. It's a little bit later than usual on top of that. So it'll be interesting. Jermaine says, I guess because Tony had Timeless Tony and Mariah May main event Grand Slam, there's no way to have the main event 2 in a row. That would be something else. But Grand Slam was not a pay-per-view. Grand Slam's never been a pay-per-view.
Yeah, remember all the controversy?
But even the September shows, when they were doing it, Arthur Ashe, they are just regular show with pay-per-view quality.
Yeah, it's like Blood and Guts.
I will not be surprised if Tony uses that loophole as it was a pay-per-view quality match on Grand Slam, and it main evented. But no, it's not an official pay-per-view, so it doesn't count.
Well, he went out of his way.
Jermaine is right that it probably will not main event 2 shows in a row.
Correct.
Although it should. That's how I feel about that.
It's a good point. And
I remembered what I was going to say from Collision. This morning, I saw Clark Connors posted a video, and he's on his way to AEW for something.
Oh.
So, and then Brody King quote tweeted it and said, Hounds of Hell versus War Dogs.
Oh, yes.
And he said that seemed interesting because obviously Gabe is there. So perhaps Gabe and Clark versus Hounds of Hell, that would be a pretty cool match. So maybe that's leading to something.
I think they're positioning Clark for something else. They're about to, I think, fire him off. You know what I mean? Like he looks like,
and yeah,
with all the stuff at New Beginning or New Year. No, yeah, New Beginning, the most recent New Japan show, where there was the schmoz with the War Dogs and so forth, and he took a bump from the announcer table and so forth. So it looks like they're putting them in position to do something, which it's time.
Yeah, and he said in the video that he's like, the last time you saw me, I was the Wild Rhino, but now I'm, and he's like, but I'm not that anymore.
I mean, he destroyed it. Remember, he took over. He last minute took that match because Taka couldn't come to America because he got sick for the first Forbidden Door, and they booked Clark Connors for that match.
And you and I were super excited because we had been
watching him on Strong.
Yes, we were Strong fans, and we're like, oh, Clark Connors is great. You guys are going to love him. And then he had that huge spot where he put, was it Mox that he put through who was it he put through? I just blanked.
I can't remember who
he speared somebody through the table, and people lost it. And they were like,
he had a great match at Forbidden Door, and people were like, and you and I were like, yeah, you're welcome.
We've only been talking about him for for months now.
Oh man, he knows. Like, Clark is not dumb. He was like, I got this match by chance. I'm going to take my moment. And he did. He did. And that was the first one. So to be memorable like that, as somebody that nobody really, people were like downright bitching about it. I'm like, you shut up. This is going to be a good match.
Well, and I saw Lyric. I think it was Lyric made the point that like the crossover between AEW and New Japan fans aren't as big as it used to be, and so she's glad that they are introducing more New Japan and Stardom talents months ahead of Forbidden Door, so that when we start getting these matches, people aren't saying who.
Yeah. Whatever. Go. You're literally on when you're tweeting out who, you're on a device that you could have looked it up on.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Just critical thinking is common
It's
sense is not so common. Is that what the old adage is?
Yes. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We could be here forever because so the point is AEW seems to be on a roll. They're having a lot of really good shows. I'm excited for where things to go. And then we will get to the really big topic of the week, because after I had put on, because I wasn't sure what we were going to talk about this week, because I was like, well, just go into AEW's hot. That's what a lot of people keep talking about, how the AEW's been on a roll. They've been having these great shows. And then this report comes out that some of the women in the WWE division are not happy and have been unhappy for a long time. And I believe, so Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful mentioned it on an episode of The Hump. From what I understand, that is their Wednesday podcast. And he said, and the quote, because my Raphael from Daily DDT wrote about it. And so I have the quote here.
Oh, okay.
He said, I have spoken with plenty of women in WWE who are frustrated about the booking of the women. I know there have been some mania pitches that have been rejected because people are like token tag matches aren't something they would want to do. They want things to be put on a more even plane in the women's division. So this has been, and we have clearly talked about WWE. I mean, AEW's women's division and the problems with that for pretty much as long as we've been around.
Yeah.
So this is nothing new. And we've heard of WWE issues before, and some of the issues they've been having. And so thank you, Laurent. Laurent says, thank you so much for that donation. That is huge for us. He's a bit behind listening to the broadcast, been prom dressing with my daughter, or prom dress shopping with his daughter. Hopefully this donation gets you a little bit closer to her. Laurent, that means so much to us. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate that.
So much.
Thank you.
And
I hope prom dress shopping has been going well.
So fun. Oh, that's so adorable.
And they watch. Laurent has, he's talked about it before with us, and on Twitter and here that he and his daughter watch wrestling together, which is really cool. So and yay, prom dress. I hope she finds the dress that she loves.
Me
and
too.
That you are, and that Dad's not getting too sad.
I know it's so tough. These milestones. And it's fun because like Laurent and Brad and others like that, Kathy started Lord of the Rings this week. And like we've talked about before, we really enjoy the fact that like we get and we were talking about Houston earlier. He's fantastic. These kids are great. Like it keeps you smart, keeps you on your toes. Yeah. Oh man, you bring her for a prom dress, and it was like this is like when they do daddy-daughter dances. This is like, oh
yes, and like Nikki says, I hope she finds a beautiful gown.
She
did finally. Apparently, Laurent says she did finally find a dress, and
it takes. Worried. Listen, it's a very important. That's I shopped in my mom had to take me to Boston and then back to Maine.
Oh wow!
I was just.
There's a lady here that she runs. Her shop is actually here in a mall in Charlotte, but she's gone viral on TikTok and Twitter because she helps. Usually girls she's really girls of all sizes, but typically girls who are plus size, and she helps them find, and they often come in, she'll show videos when they come, of course this is all with their permission, show videos when they come in, and you see that they're kind of timid, and then they start trying on dresses, and you see their confidence just go building, and then you see how they look, and they spin around, and you can always tell when they find the dress because they get that look on their face, and it's such a cool thing to see. And it's one of my favorite things is watching those videos. She posts them on Twitter too. And at the time when I first started watching them, I didn't even know she was in Charlotte, and then I found out she's at a mall across town, and it's so cool. And then or sometimes she won't show the reveal of the dress. She'll wait, and then she'll post once they've been to prom and have and then send her prom pictures, she'll post them. And so you'll see then what dress they got to pick. And the people in the comments are so nice. They're just like, oh, this dress, dress 2 and 4 looked good on her. Oh man, I hope she picked this one, or look at her face when she tried this one on. And so it's really cool because all the comments are like really supportive of these young women, and it's awesome. And then she has women of all ages. Like women will come in there to find dresses for like events that they're going to, and they'll try on cool stuff. So like I love watching stuff like that.
We really have cool. A mutual aid organization here in the city, in the metro area, that actually does where they collect dresses like that for girls that can't afford them, and they have their shop downtown. And this is the time of season where all the news channels are showing us the girls that are getting to actually go in, and boys as well, for their and various needs of. And again, it's also really important because at some point in our lives we become adults. We have to we might have to go to something dressy.
Like Nikki just said that she makes her want to buy fancy dresses when I don't need a fancy dress. I do too. I'm like, man, I would wear that dress in my living room. I'm gonna buy a nice dress to watch Wrestle Kingdom.
It really is. I think you touched on it perfectly with the confidence thing, and that's a really special moment. And just thank you, Lauren. That's fantastic. All of that. That's a heartwarming gift from a heartwarming day. And thank you for sharing both things with us.
Yes. I can't wait to see. I'm sure, Lauren, if you don't, I know it's Twitter and you don't have to ask her permission, but if she lets us see it, or you could DM it to us if she doesn't want it to be in public, I would love to see what dress
we do.
Even
in our Discord,
if she doesn't want her face on social media, I totally get it. But if she would allow us a sneak peek of the dress, we would love to see it.
We do in our Discord have, and I believe Laurent's in our Discord. I think we do have a channel for kids and celebrate. We have a whole babies and pets, but we also have just sort of like celebrations channel and it's really fun because a lot of time it is things like, when the girls and boys are turning middle school age on their first day, which is the only thing I really want to see on my Facebook anymore is like my kids, like my friends' kids and my various acquaintances and relatives, kids growing and things like that. So there is a secret or a place, and then I can show it to see. Either way, no matter what happens, thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Yes, definitely.
That's
so unfortunately, we have to get back to this not great topic we're going and celebrating women, but we want women to be celebrated in wrestling as well. And so Jermaine says the issue with WWE is having right now with the women's division is making more and more sense because now WWE have 5 women titles on the main roster, and they need to be positioned for WrestleMania. And so that's been some of the issues. And so I made some notes because I didn't want to forget some of the things I was going to say because there's a lot of it. As somebody who now regularly watches WWE, I have watched for the last year and see how these women are positioned. So I quit watching WWE 2022-ish. I want to say, and a big part of that was because of the women's booking. That's why I quit timing WWE's women's matches because the matches were so horrible. Like matches would start during the commercial break, or there were women who would walk out of their matches, and the match would just end because they were because in storyline they were like pissed off about something, so they just walk out of their matches, and so the matches wouldn't even end. Like it was just. And then there was the time, then they had the thing where 10 weeks in a row, Nia put Lana through a table. Like there was just
I remember that now.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was so nonsensical. And so that's why, and like the overall product of WWE at that time was really bad. And it was just getting to the point where for more than a year, we were fast forwarding through things that we would fast forward to the things that we wanted to see, which got to be 2 or 3 things. Like it would be like a Kevin Owens segment. And then the women's matches were only because I could time them, not because we were interested in anything that they were doing, because it was so bad. And so then I finally gave up, and I got to the 1 year mark, and Nikki was like, because before then Nikki was like, I can't take this anymore. And so I was like, I will make it to the year mark of timing WWE, AEW, and TNA, and once that's done, I'll stop timing WWE matches. And so that's why it stopped. Was the booking was so bad. And so then I had forgotten that TJ Wilson, who is the former Tyson Kidd, he is very big in the women's. He books a lot of the women's wrestling. That's Natalia's husband, and he is very good at booking women's wrestling. Well, he left creative around 2022 because things were so bad, and he just like took a break. And I had actually forgotten about it until it was brought up the other day. And it was because of Vince's ideas. Vince was still in control of creative at that time. And his idea for SummerSlam, for WrestleMania, no, I think was it WrestleMania? It was so bad that he left. That's how, and let me see if I let me see if I still have the screen grab of that, because
it's pretty bad when you have worked for WWE for that long. Like, how bad does it have to get?
Yeah,
for you to finally say, I'm done.
Yeah, so this is what it was. So one of the reasons that we were given was the vision of Vince McMahon was so off the wall that there was trouble coexisting with it. We're told that this and other things led to Wilson taking time away, and WWE had to call in Fit Finlay to produce the match. Because when they were doing the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble, Vince had pitched the idea for Ronda Rousey to eliminate the entire field.
Oh.
And it was her first match in over 2.5 years, and he wanted Ronda to take out everybody.
Okay, I read that too.
Yes. And it says that we're told early on that Vince was very steadfast in wanting to do something like this because they had Rousey on full time, and she was going to have an advanced schedule for all of 2022. Eventually, Rousey was brought back, entered at number 28, spent 10 minutes in the match and eliminated 4 people, and she won. There was also frustration with Vince McMahon, as the vast majority of the cameos had no real plan, and McMahon had instructed to get them in and get them out. Summer Rae, Sarah Logan, Cameron, Kelly, Melina, Molly Holly, and Ivory all spent a minute or less in the match, all because of Vince. It says at least 4 cameos WWE had planned for that year rejected WWE's overtures in the Royal Rumble. They included Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, and Nia Jax. At least one cited TJ Wilson's lack of involvement as a reason that they were not involved in the match that year. Which is insane and not a surprise at all. Very that happened. And so then I had screenshot some more information. So it says several women on the WWE roster have spoken with Fightful and noted the lack of focus on developing contenders, the tag team division, and screen time for women outside of the top of the division. This is said to be specifically in comparison to NXT, where main roster women's talent have noticed how much screen time and focus the talent get and how emotional investment follows. So your people on your main roster are looking at NXT and be like, the women down there are booked better than we are. That's the problem.
I read as part of that report that people were literally reaching out, or what Sean had said was that people were literally reaching out to him to ask how they were listed externally on those sites, as whether they were listed as faces or heels, and they were concerned because of the most recent dropping of while they were dealing with Sonya Deville and her release, and then
because Sonya said that they were up until 4 days before she was released. She was in talks with WWE to renew her contract.
Right.
She had given them a proposal, but counter proposed something to them. And when she was running on the treadmill with her, with her daughter, got a phone call from WWE and thought they were accepting her offer. And they were like, you're not going to renew your contract. Bye.
Well, and there's cause to be concerned, because between the booking and the fact that they've released a couple women over the time and these other women that don't have, what I saw was that they were concerned because they're like, well, with everyone else being laid off and me not being booked for anything, do I need to worry about, and the notorious wishes and for the future kind of thing that WWE does, people's jobs or people's livelihoods in this economy it's scary.
Yeah, and so some of the other notes that I had about all this was, last year we talked about it some. Bayley won the Royal Rumble and should have been getting the main event spot in WrestleMania 40. And they were promoting everybody but Bayley, to the point where even CM Punk was like, "Hey, Bayley won the Royal Rumble. Like, we should be promoting her." Like, they had a kickoff event and did not invite Bayley to it. And like it was a disaster. And people were like, if she was getting like barely any promotion at all. And they also they had changed it a few years ago. The winner of the Royal Rumble, both winners, were supposed to get a main event match at WrestleMania. That's not been happening. The women are not getting main event spots. The women are nowhere close. The way they are being booked, they are nowhere close to getting main event spots on WrestleMania anymore. But not when you've got obviously they're gonna do Jey Uso, and Gunther is probably gonna main event one of the nights. But then, and CM Punk and Roman Reigns will probably main event another night. Or there's talk about doing a 3-way. It may be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns may end up. So that's going to get a main event spot. So they're not going to them. They're like, well, why would I give it to, why should I give it to Charlotte and Tiffany? Even though Charlotte has main evented before, they don't appear to be doing that. And then like we've talked about it, Liv's entitled tire reign, even though it was under the guise of she's just trying to get back at Rhea Ripley, her entire storyline revolved around a man. Like the title was secondary, it was a prop. She barely defended it. And then they had an episode where they were making direct references to the lawsuit that had been filed. And it was disgusting and it was gross. And it was unfair to Liv. And then we finally get her. Rhea comes back, is healthy. We finally get this match. It's a 10-minute match on the debut of Raw on Netflix. It's not they didn't give him a pay-per-view spot or anything like that. Rhea's won the title, and then she's barely done anything since winning the title. We don't even know her WrestleMania opponent yet. It will be decided at Elimination Chamber next week. There's rumors that it's going to be Bianca, that they're going to run that back from a couple years ago, because when Bianca was champion, it was in the no fans era. Mm-hmm. So there's that. So it's a mess. But then I think one of the most frustrating things is the mid card in WWE in general for both men and women sucks. Like they just, like, Shinsuke defends his title against LA Knight over and over again. When LA Knight was champion, he kept facing Andrade. When Logan Paul was champion, like it's the same repetitive bullshit. Like they don't, and so it's just as bad for them, but it's somehow even worse when it comes to women. They have brand new titles, a women's IC title and a women's US title. Chelsea Green beat Mia Yim or Michin for that title. She has faced her several more times, but they've given her no other contenders for that title. Then you have Lyra Valkyria, who won the women's IC title. She beat Dakota Kai for it. Then the next week, they didn't even have her on TV the week after she won it. And then, Lyra was in the crowd. And then so then they have a match. On Monday night, they had a match between Dakota Kai and Ivy Nile. And Ivy Nile, we were like, okay, she's going to win and we'll have a new contender. No, Dakota Kai won again. So do you have Dakota Kai come in and lose a second title match? Then what are you doing with her? But then also, or do you have her defeat Lyra? Then what was the point of having Lyra win in the first place? Like, their booking is a mess. And from that standpoint, supposedly Lyra's opponent at WrestleMania is going to be Becky Lynch, because she and Becky wrestled in NXT in 2023. Lyra beat her to become champion. And that's back when they did the million viewers, when they put Becky Lynch in the main event of NXT, and they got a million viewers off of it. And so that was the feud then. And so, but then why are you stalling her? And because Becky's not back yet. So what are you doing with her? And it's just, the booking just doesn't make any sense. And then on top of all of this, a women's title has not been defended on a PLE since October at Bad Blood. That was the last time a woman has defended any type of title. And they are doing that 5 matches per show deal, which is
okay, that's the title, and then and I think that's crazy if that's true that it hasn't been since WrestleMania 35. Is that what we haven't not had a women's championship Mania main event since Becky versus Charlotte versus Ronda.
Yep,
which
that's
was
the last
WrestleMania
time,
35.
Yes,
there
so
was
that was the last
match.
time. That was the last time that we had that, and then a woman has not defended her title on any. There's been no since October when they did Bad Blood. That was the last time a woman even defended their title on a pay-per-view.
That is utter like they have incredibly talented women on their roster. So yes. I mean, whether you love or hate Charlotte, there's people who love her, but I mean beyond that, like some of these people. I mean Bayley was like huge over. I mean, I know Becky's been dealing with like Becky stuff and fine.
Right.
I'm sure she'll be there when she needs to be there. I mean, it's hard for me because I don't watch the product, but this doesn't inspire me to want to watch it more because from all the things that I was reading about when you put this in the situation, and I do appreciate that at least I guess wrestling Twitter or wrestling socials got together and was like, the women deserve better than this. Like, I think that it was nice to see at least fans trying to.
Last week was the 10-year anniversary of Give Divas a Chance. And we are 10 years later, we have fans who are using hashtag WWE Women Deserve Better. And they were using it during SmackDown. This was before we even knew The Rock was coming. I saw I saw it retweeted into my timeline that, hey, Friday during SmackDown, we're going to use this hashtag. The Rock had not even been announced for this yet when I first saw this. But then
grand irony.
Yes, the grand irony, The Rock gets announced. Supposedly 2 matches are going to get canceled. They were supposed to be a 6-man match involving some of the members of the Bloodline. And then there was going to be a women's match that was going to be Naomi versus Liv. And so then SmackDown starts. They go through, they're showing the wrestlers come in. They promote Naomi versus Liv is happening. And so we're like, okay. And somebody was like, yeah, because the fans made a big deal about it. So they're letting the match happen. Well, the match didn't happen. They bring they bring Naomi and Bianca come out. They go to commercial. Wait, I don't even remember if they went to commercial, but regardless, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez come out. They both attack them, and the match doesn't even happen. And then the very next segment is The Rock.
Which we've already talked about.
Yes, which we talked about. But yes, the whole thing, like the Rock thing was a mess. He spent forever, like, just rambling on about stuff. Like, the promo was nonsensical. It was very bizarre. It was like he didn't have like points. He just went out there and started talking. Like, there were times that they showed Cody and he looked utterly confused as to what The Rock was talking about. And then he just goes on and he's like, we've become best friends since WrestleMania 40, to which the fans booed. Then he was like, even our moms have become besties. Throw up this picture. And so he puts up a picture of their moms together. And then he's like, so he's just going on and on about how the fans have embraced him and he's a great champion and blah, blah, blah. But then he says, I want you to be my champion. What the hell does that mean? He's like, I'm already a champion and I'm already, the people already love me. Like, I'm already a people's champion. And so he's just going on and he's like, well, he was like, I can make all your wildest dreams come true. And Cody's still like, what are you talking about? And he's like, and then he gives him a deadline of Elimination Chamber, which is next Sunday or next Saturday rather, whatever his answer is going to be. And so finally Cody looks at him and he said, do you want my title? And he says, no, I want your soul, and caresses his face. Like, was the most bizarre shit. All of us in Slack, I think every single one of us, every other minute, somebody was like, what is he even talking about? Like, what is the point of this? What are we doing? And like, I had a friend tuned in just to see it. And he was like, what is he talking about? Like, I'm so confused. I opened Twitter. What is this? Why are we wasting time with this? This could have been a women's match. They could have let Naomi versus Liv happen. Like, what's happening here? And I guess he's trying to make Cody into a corporate heel, and he wants him, and that's how they're going to turn Cody heel, is because The Rock wants him to be a corporate heel. I don't know.
They're trying to do a Cody as a heel storyline, which
which
like
is bizarre.
but
Anyway,
like the People's Champion from
like Cody wouldn't even turn heel when he was in
years
AEW.
ago.
That was the whole reason. Like the whole reason a lot of this shit happened with Cody. Cody would not turn heel. And then there was the whole Anthony Ogogo situation and all of that. But like that was the beginning of the end for him. And I was like, I could see them doing like, and we talked about it before, like in Slack, like maybe when they finally do Cody versus Cena, we'll get sort of a heel John Cena, but like as heel as you're ever going to get from John Cena, like, because he's a tweener type of thing. But it was just,
I mean, when he does his like Freakonomics stuff,
and this was like, it was like 20 minutes. It was like a 20-minute segment. It was a waste of time. It didn't do anything. Like, we already know Cody is a beloved champion. Like, it just did nothing for him. It didn't do anything. Like, it was one of the most bizarre things I have ever seen. And we were all talking, like, we were still like 2 hours later, we're like, what was that? Like, what did we just watch? And so you already have the women being upset reportedly at these things, but then you turn around and knock off a match for a TKO board member to ramble on for a half an hour and not really get to a point other than I want your soul. Well, what the hell does that mean? He's like he's talking about, he's like, go home and talk to your wife and your daughter. About what? Like, even Ava, who is his daughter, she's the GM of NXT, she tweeted and said, I want your soul is crazy. Like, she was like, what is my dad doing? Like, it was just bizarre. So it didn't do anything to help the perceptions of how the women allegedly feel in this situation. And so the WrestleMania matches that we have so far is Charlotte versus Tiffany for the title, which Charlotte's most likely going to win, let's be honest, because we can't have another blonde woman who does moonsaults having the title. And then I mentioned Rhea, that her opponent will be named at the Elimination Chamber. We don't know if the tag titles are going to be defended, and that kind of depends on if they go with Bianca. Bianca and Naomi currently have the titles. There's a possibility Jade comes back, so perhaps they do Jade and Naomi defending the titles against Liv and Raquel, but Liv and Raquel are in storyline currently the people who took Jade out of action. Like, it's a convoluted mess. And then maybe Lyra versus Becky, and then are we gonna get a title defense are we gonna get Chelsea Green defending her title, and will it be somebody who's not Mia Yim? And then there was a rumor that maybe they would do a mixed tag between the Wyatts and Judgment Day, but now that kind of seems out the window. Like, it's just, I can understand the frustration. And then I saw a tweet that said 3 years ago was the time for other women to step up. When Mercedes and Naomi left the company, the women should have said then, hey, we don't like what you're doing here. We want to do something about it. And then people were like, oh, well, Vince would have fired them. But it's hard to fire if it's an entire division going to him and be like, we got to fix this. Then that's different than just, and I'm sure you probably weren't going to get Charlotte Flair on your side going to Vince McMahon. But some of these other women could have used their, they could have come together.
That you have. I mean, this is the fundamental problem that you have, why there will never be a union for wrestlers.
Right.
It's the same thing. I mean, yes, of course, we always get the, why didn't you say it later or like then, or why didn't you do it this? It's like, okay, well, that's fine. Okay, so that argument is valid. Maybe they should have, but they didn't. And now we're talking about right now's booking of the women. So I feel as though saying that they should have done something is all fine and good, but talking about the past is irrelevant because you can't go backwards. You got to figure things out from here. Like, right. Now, again, everyone can, like, you can act like it would be easy for a whole bunch of those women to get together and go and tell Vince, like, no. But let's look at what he's alleged at doing to a person that's also a woman.
Yeah.
And let's look at some of the other accusations that have come around. I mean, I don't even know as a group. Like, Vince is crazy enough to fire a whole group of people.
That's true.
Sure. That guy is next. Like, those kind of people are pretty next level. So
yeah, and then
I'm not disagreeing with you, because to me, I'm a big fan of solidarity. I believe that would have been the greatest thing ever. I think it would have changed wrestling.
Right. But that would have been the perfect time for them to say something. But then I did want to say that there was also a report that the women, that they wanted to clarify that the women are not angry about the women featured. Like, they're not mad that it's like that Nia,
they're not mad at who's on TV. They're
mad that not, like, in addition to, like, we would also like to be featured in addition to these women, not in place of these women. So they were like, it's not we're pitting the women against, like, the women aren't pitting themselves against other women. They're just saying like, hey, like, you could do all of these things. You could have more people, trying to come for the IC title. Cause only like 2 people have said, like, there's only been like 2 wrestlers who have like made interest and be like, hey, I want to wrestle you for that title. Like, it's been Chelsea's title. BFAB has expressed interest in it. And there was somebody else like that just did it like a week ago. And Piper's thing is to kind of run an interference, and Piper was like, no, you're not worried. You're not getting a title shot. And so it's been the same story playing out of her and Mia Yim just going back and forth over this title. I saw Fernando say Piper's going to turn on Chelsea and face her at Mania. I could see that being the case. And yes, and I have heard too that a member of the Wyatt family is hurt. That's why they've been on hold. But they have other members. They don't have to all not be on TV just because one person is hurt. There's multiple members of that company. And I think Alexa has been they've been kind of hinting that she's going to be involved with the Wyatts again. They've done like the little flashes, but it's probably not till after Elimination Chamber is the thing. And then they also kind of seem to hint that maybe there's going to be a power struggle between Alexa and Uncle Howdy on who is going to be the leader of the Wyatts, which could be interesting. And so, so that, there's that. This says, I've counted between Raw and SmackDown about 20 women who are featured, 12 on SmackDown and 8 on Raw. They have 35 main roster women. NXT is another story featured, at least every other week. And they've get main event, like they just main evented.
The point that they were making is NXT is able to showcase more women. Yeah. Why is with especially with the additional hour of SmackDown now, why can't essentially, I'm not going to say, B show, but B show. Why is the B show booking women better than the A show?
Right.
Like, they're not saying take the women off the A show. They're saying feature more women, like NXT features more women.
Well, and their women wrestle, like the Vengeance Day was their last PLE for NXT. They had 2 women's matches. They had the North American title was defended and Julia won it. And the main event was Bailey versus Roxanne versus Julia versus because Stephanie Vaquer won the North American title. So I think I said she was in this match. It was Julia. And there was, who am I forgetting? It was Roxanne, Bailey, Julia.
Isla Dawn?
No, they fired her.
Oh, okay.
They fired her and then put her in.
I remember reading about the match.
Then they aired her speed match a week after they fired her.
Oh, that's right. That's why I knew her name right now.
Yes. Okay. So, but regardless of the women, yes, Cora Jade. Thank you. I don't know why I was blanking on that. Thank you. And so they they main evented that. And so the women there are being featured now. Jordan, obviously, she's there. She's made it known that she wants one of the titles too. Zaria is there. Zaria is the former Delta who just came in from Australia. Oh, right, she's seems to be a pretty big deal. And so there's a lot of buzz around the NXT women's division down there. And so they're just saying like, hey, Like, you're really good about putting them in main event spots or featuring multiple women. And I've heard like some of the people who watch NXT on a regular basis tell me all the time, they're like, they do a really great job of showcasing various women, even in backstage segments, and they're building stories for them. And we're not really seeing that on.
See, that's sort of counterintuitive, because if I'm a woman in NXT, why would I want to go to the main roster if I'm being
right? And so that's why people.
I mean,
like,
maybe obviously for the paycheck, but
right. But then some people are like, you know, why would Jordan go to NXT? Well, why wouldn't she at this rate? Like, I think they're gonna bring her up after WrestleMania, because that was kind of the thing, was that, and you know, that's why Ricky Saints went to NXT, is because WrestleMania is pretty much like their stories are playing out. Like, we can't really put you in here right now. We're trying to get to WrestleMania and do the stories that we've been telling. There's room for you after. Probably what's going to happen to Jordan as well. I don't see Stephanie and Julia may not spend maybe they do spend the rest of the year down there. Maybe they come up sooner. It's just interesting, but it's something to keep an eye on, since the story, you know, is happening. And we've talked about in AEW a lot about how women are booked and handled, and it's a problem. It's a problem across the board, across multiple companies, it seems like. And Twan says that Cora Jade WWE has teaming with Tessa Blanchard and TNA, and she'll be in. Yeah, that's the thing. How soon will Tessa be in TNA? And so there's that too. And so it's definitely, and it's not the first time that this has come up. Like, I even wrote an article about it a few years ago, about them having the women, being upset with some of the things. And even Natalia, like 2 or 3 years ago, was talking about how she felt undervalued. And apparently, I didn't see it, but apparently people were attacking her on Twitter because they thought she was the one who was complaining. But I don't know where they got that from, unless it's because TJ, it was talking about how, obviously how we talked about how TJ left for a bit. So I don't know. I didn't see the tweets myself. I just saw somebody told me, they were like, have you seen that they're attacking Natalia? And I was like, no, because I try not to spend time on that app as much as I can. So I missed it. But yeah. And then Natalia, she decided to resign with him a couple of months ago. And then they did put her in the tournament for the US championship. She was in the tournament, and then she was in because they were doing, like, in the early part of the tournament, there was like, she was in it, but she got eliminated like early in the tournament. So, so Stat used Natty as an example for talent not getting featured, but he said he doesn't know if that's how she feels. So maybe that's where the hate against her came from.
That's what happened. He said, for example, and everybody went, I'm like, reading is great, but reading comprehension is way more
right. Because say reading comprehension is your friend.
Just reading.
So then, thank you for clarifying that, because that makes sense, because I didn't know where it came from. And like I said, I didn't see the tweet. Somebody had just DM'd me and they're like, hey, have you seen that people are attacking Natty? And I was like, no.
Saying, for example, she was rehired and they haven't been using her.
Got it. That makes
sense. That's confusing. And people and I think that was for fear of jobs, is like, not even Natalia, who got rehired, who they like, if she's rehired and not working, and they've just released these women, what do we do? Like,
right.
I mean, this comes down to, am I going to have a job in the morning?
Right.
That's a scary, especially right now.
Yeah.
That's a scary prospect.
And USBA gas, this is what happens with American TV. AEW and WWE are now signing the power of international brands.
Yeah. They still AEW still on New Japan's top talent. But it's okay, because New Japan
and then WWE stole Stephanie out from under AEW.
And they stole Penta. Well, I mean, at least not stealing. I feel like these people seem to be going where they want to go. I know we're making fun, but
he said, please leave these women alone. Yeah, man, this stuff with Asuka has been crazy.
Yeah, that's not.
They've been like, Asuka has, I don't remember if we talked about it a few weeks ago, but Asuka was being stalked.
Yeah.
And had to get the police involved. Like, that's how bad it got. Then
People
somebody
are, like,
hacked her. Somebody hacked her
Mm.
Twitter. Was it last week? So maybe it was the end of the week before, and she finally got access to it again last week.
Well, wasn't it like Sonya Deville who got, like, somebody broke into her head? Like, this is not funny. This is not something to mess around with. Like, we've actually had somebody be physically, like, invasive to another human being's life. Like, this is not. Stop it. Agreed.
Yes, please,
leave
leave
people alone.
Yes. Please stop. Please learn some boundaries. We got to learn what we need. Y'all need to a lesson in what parasocial relationships are. We're not in relationships with these people. You do not love these people. You don't know them.
They don't know you. They don't care about you. We're not friends. We're not. There's something you watch on your TV.
And you're not entitled to them because you buy their merchandise. Because we've had that come up a lot, especially with independent women's wrestlers. They're like,
everything.
Well, I buy your merch. Okay, but that doesn't mean you get to stalk them. And there was that guy a few years ago, remember, who was sending stuff directly to their houses instead of sending it to like PO boxes and stuff. He was finding their addresses and sending them stuff. And it wasn't just women wrestlers. It was just wrestlers, several different wrestlers it was happening to. And they had to like, I can't tell you how many times I would log on to social media and somebody be like, hey, don't send mail to my house. Don't
it
send
happens
mail to
both. I mean, it does. I'm not saying that obviously
to my parents' house.
Yeah.
Like they were finding their parents' mailing addresses.
No.
Like that is insane behavior.
Friends, don't do that.
Yeah.
If you want to send somebody something, you do it the proper way, like all of us and our friends have done with each other over the network, where we reach out and make sure that it's all right with each other.
Right. And that's why a lot of these people have PO boxes, so that you don't know where they live.
And I mean, they used to call it Retiquette, internet etiquette, whatever you want to call it. There is still there's still social etiquette, guys. Like, just stop. So that's the last time I'm saying that. There's been too much of that happening to women in all kinds of like spaces now that are like well-known women, and it's a little scary.
It is very scary.
A lot of people in the chat today. You guys have been awesome.
Thank you. Yes, thank you to everybody in the chat. And even if we didn't put your comments up, we did see them and we appreciate them. And we appreciate your input all the time, whether they're agreeing opinions or differing opinions. We appreciate that. Yes, I agree. Josiah has returned, and we're getting
time
ready
for us to sign
Josiah's here. We got to go. I'm just kidding, Josiah.
We actually were on something of a time clock for a change.
Well, we were, and something was supposed to be happening, but doesn't look like it's happening. We were trying to get out of here a bit earlier, but I had some IRL stuff that I thought might be happening, but I don't know that it's happening now. So
just taking your lead.
So Josiah says he has left it.
We love you. You're great.
But so next week we are going to do our big 3-year anniversary show, because this coming Thursday is the actual 3-year anniversary of Powerbombshells. So we decided that since next Sunday is a little bit closer than this Sunday, we will do our we'll be doing our anniversary show that next Sunday. We hope that you can join us, and who knows, maybe we'll have some people pop in. Who knows? Maybe it'll just be me and Mel.
Maybe it'll be us. Maybe we'll put it out there.
You've had enough anniversary shows. We're not coming. You've had guests on this year. We're not coming. So, which is fine. We'll be here with you. You can come celebrate with us.
It's our birthday. We just want to make sure that we enjoyed it.
And then Fernando says, more time with you, the better. Well, we appreciate
Thank you. That's really nice. We appreciate you guys a lot. Spending any time you can with us. It's really great to have you.
Or if you have to do like Josiah and you have to leave and then come back.
You have to leave us
and then if you were in the chat now, you can tell everybody that you were in the same chat as Rhea Ripley.
Correct.
Rhea Ripley somehow.
You guys were in the chat with someone famous today, because I know she's always watching Powerbombshells.
Who knew that Rhea Ripley was a big Powerbombshells fan?
Ooh, I love Alan Wake. Great game. Solid game. Ooh, it's Alan Wake 2. I have not played 2 yet. I love that game so much. Early adopter. My cousin sent it to me because he's like, you have to play this. It's very scary and very fun. I mean, for a long time, like your only weapon is a flashlight.
He says that you should play Control.
Yep, I know. It's downloaded on my Steam account. I know that my cousin he like knows the entire canon of Alan Wake, so we're very big fans. That's really cool. Yes, it is. Yes, they are wonderful. If you're a fan of horror video games, if you're a fan of horror in general, especially because the game is just chock-packed full of horror references in the best possible ways. So that's your jam. That's my quick endorsement there.
This has been Video Game Minute with Mel.
With Mel. Because Mel does know what a final boss is.
with Mel and Josiah.
With Mel and Josiah. See, he was.
Ooh.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
Fernando, that's a very good question. Do I think AJ Styles will sign with AEW when his WWE contract expires? I think that if he wants to go into the TNA Hall of Fame, he will stay where he's at and then try to go into their Hall of Fame and the WWE Hall of Fame, probably.
Well, I would love to see him go back.
Josiah said, I hope AJ does. I mean, listen, I'd love to see.
Everyone would like to see that,
except Nikki.
All right.
Nikki said, please no. Listen, if it was going to be anybody, I wanted it to be Kevin Owens because I missed Mount Rushmore the first time around, and I would like to see it. If for selfish reasons, I want it, and I just like to see him. There's matches I'd like to see him do there. However, I'm not surprised that he re-signed. He just bought a new house. His wife and daughter go to Disney a lot. So
taking souls, I am. Let me correct.
Yeah, that WWE, that AJ will likely stay. I think
I don't see him leaving there.
No, I think he retired.
I think his time with the other promotions, the more like wrestling based promotions, is probably gone.
We've also got to see if he, hopefully, knock on wood, can stay healthy because he was out from October till Royal Rumble.
Oh, wow.
Because he got injured in a match with Carmelo Hayes. It happened in real time. Like it happened, and like they legitimately had to call his match during SmackDown because he got injured. Then they tried to play it off and say that he wasn't really injured, or that it was a storyline. He was legitimately injured. Just came back. So he also has to be careful with. So who knows how much longer he's going to be around to begin with. So I can see, it was a freak foot injury. So I could see him staying in WWE a couple more years and maybe just wrapping it up there. And yes, KO has been very well taken care of. And so, I was not just selfishly, I wanted to see him in AEW just for the matches I could see. However, because WWE have taken good care of him.
I think Sam was pretty realistic on that.
And also, he's one of the bright spots of WWE. So
he keeps Sam from going completely insane on her coverage.
I'm so excited for his match with Sami Zayn in Toronto, because I didn't know, apparently they've not really wrestled in Toronto because of their past, or they never had a pay-per-view match in Toronto. Maybe that's what it was. I can't remember the exact phrasing. If it was they'd never had a match in Toronto together or against each other, or it was never on a pay-per-view. But the story they're telling, and I know they've done this story 48 times, but at least they are finding compelling reasons for this story to go on. And in this case is Kevin Owens feels betrayed by Sami, because during their match, because Sami is friends with KO and Cody, and so Sami checked on both of them and did not win, and then Kevin Owens got injured in the match, and Sami did not physically stop Cody Rhodes from climbing the ladder to get the title, and so that means that Kevin Owens took that personally. Did the pile driver has been banned in WWE, and he did a pile driver on Sami because of that, and so that's kind of what set up this story for them for the next iteration of the story. And it's going to be in their hometown, and it is a WrestleMania level match. However, to get this match in Toronto obviously is a really big deal for both of them, so I'm not mad at it. So I am really looking forward to that one. Josiah said they mostly wrestled in Quebec here in Canada, maybe in Ottawa, but there was very few indies in Toronto at the time. Most of their matches were in the US, so this will be great. Yeah, so I think that's why they decided to do it here, is because it'll be the first time that it's in Toronto. And yes, it is unsanctioned, which is going to make it even better.
Oh, interesting. That should be fun then. I'd actually
really,
watch that.
They made that official on Monday because Sammy was here in Charlotte and he was talking about the match, and then they're like, they said it was going to be unsanctioned. Nikki said she's not interested in seeing AJ wrestle anybody in AEW. However, I'd love to see KO in AEW, but I accepted that it may never happen. Right.
Some things are just, some people just are where they are and they're happy, and it's
right, of course. And at the end of the day, I want talent to be paid. I want them to be happy. So even though if I want to be selfish and have them come wrestle,
well, I mean, we're always going to have our own personal like selfishness, but I mean, you know, reality.
Yeah, Fernando, probably right. Randy Orton's going to come back. Randy Orton's been out for a while because Kevin did that's what started this whole thing, the banning of the move, is because he did it on Randy Orton. Randy Orton has been on the shelf because of this, and yeah, he probably will come interfere in this match because it's unsanctioned, and then I'll set up their Mania match, which, yes, that's probably what's happening. Seems very likely. But yes, I'm looking forward to that. So by the time we have our anniversary show, but the only thing is, I will be on Collision coverage, so I don't know how soon I'll get to the Elimination Chamber. There's a possibility I will watch after Collision. I will turn on the Elimination Chamber just to watch KO versus Sammy. There's a very good chance that's the only match I watch from it, because I'm really interested to see how it goes, and I know they're just going to beat the hell out of each other. Because Kevin Owens was cutting a because he cuts promos from his car now, and he cut, and there's a video of Sammy and his wife and son, and so KO is getting very dark with this story, and he's making it personal now. And I'm really, again, I just can't say enough good things about Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn for that matter. So they keep me sane when I have to watch. But yeah,
thank goodness.
Perhaps I will weigh in on that next week during our big anniversary show that may or may not have guests. It might just be Mel and I. You can come hang out with us. Sure, maybe we'll have some streamers or something. And then the week after is our Revolution pre-show, which is like Mel said before, is the special show to us because that was the first pay-per-view that Mel and I watched together. And it was the first show that the first pay-per-view that we covered on Powerbombshells, so it has a special place in our hearts. And so we will be doing that the week after, and we hope you will come celebrate with us next week.
Just in time for the barking. All right, everybody have a great week, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much.